Welcome back. Now, this is the longest interview I've done so far, but don't let that put you off. Francisco, who I got the chance to sit down with recently, is one of the most wonderful human beings I know. He's also happens to create incredibly entertaining and very fooling magic. And he doesn't actually have a lot of clips out there of his work, but if you ever see him live, you understand exactly what I mean. He is a wonderful magician, and we talked about that in this interview. We also talked about mentoring. He's got a couple of mentors, namely Pedro Lera, who he wrote a book about, publishing a lot of his material in that book. And speaking of books, he's also published two of his own books as well, along with The Finest Card Magic of Pedro Lera. So you can find those books at the links below in the description, and there's actually a fourth one on the way. Apart from just writing books, Francisco also runs a magic school in Portugal, and as a result, he is a fantastic teacher. So you'll get a lot of that wisdom in this interview today. But aside from all those things, Francisco is also a great friend of mine, and so it was a pleasure to sit down with him, and that's why the conversation went so long. We just couldn't stop talking. It was really great. So I'll stop waffling on. I really hope you enjoy this conversation. There's a lot of little gold nuggets of wisdom sprinkled throughout this entire thing. And so I really hope you enjoy this conversation with Francisco. How are you going, man? How's you were sick? How are you feeling?
Oh, yeah, man, I was feeling much better, but today I woke up with like some aching, like pain, like that
Ah,
feeling
yeah, yeah.
of aches, and I'm like, this should have been fucking 15 days ago. So I'm really, it's really weird because I can't seem to shake this. Very weird.
Oh man, yeah, it's like the worst time of the year to get hit by it, right?
Yeah, I think it's a great timing for me to get hit by this shit because it's lower shows, so there's not many shows going around.
Really?
Yeah. January
I
is
thought
shit.
I thought it was like right after Christmas that you got, or like right on Christmas that you got hit by it.
Yeah, I was hit by it on the 17th, so I canceled three shows because I was having shows daily, and
Yeah.
I did the 21st because I was paid a lot of money to do it, and I wasn't going to fucking give it all back like a fucking refund pussy. And uh and then I did like the show on the 28th when I got like influenza flu, like 500 people, and I'm just dying inside. Just like I
Wow.
received the footage. I was doing my coaster act, and
Yeah.
as soon as I did, like I can send it to you. As soon as I did this, my voice failed. So I was like, "So, ladies and gentlemen, les pièces de résistance, les coups de grâce." And I was like, "Fuck, what is?" Just dying. Yeah. So let's just move along and have a fun
Yeah.
conversation. Go ahead.
Yeah, we should. That's great. Well, there'll be a lot of people watching this who have never heard of you. So, do you want to give yourself a brief introduction in terms of how you came to love magic and what you do now?
Yeah. So essentially, I started magic because I took out, like I received some books on it, but that's not the true essence of the thing, right? So
Mm.
essentially, I think I saw like a video on YouTube, and it was some gambling stuff, right? Some mucking or whatever. And I was very intrigued by it. I had zero foot in that particular area, and so I asked my granddad for a deck of cards, and he gave me like those complimentary deck of cards that the bank provides
Mhm.
when you're like a faithful client or whatever, like a
Yep.
shitty plastic deck. And I just started Googling stuff. And then I realized that most magicians used the same techniques that gamblers would use. And so I was now in that room and I started looking at every single thing in magic. And what was my Bible for a really long time, and this is actually in the final words of the finest magic of Pedro Lacerda,
Mhm.
that Daryl made me kept me company for years and years to come. So I saw the Encyclopedia of Card Magic, Volume 1 through 8,
Yep.
every single day of my life since I came home from school. Just ignored everyone, mom, dad, brother, dogs. I was like straight to the pinky break and pinky count techniques. Yeah,
Oh,
that was
nice.
the genesis of the thing, essentially.
Wow. And so what has that turned into?
Well, it turned into seeing at the time a lot of Leonard Green, a lot of Doherty's at the time. I have a lot of old school guys: Leonard Green, Tommy Wonder, Michael Amar, Bill Malone, all the like Jeff Sheridan, all
Mhm.
these old school kind of guys, because they had really truly fooling magic that was really suitable for their characters, and I was always very interested in that.
Mm. Yeah, that's super cool. And so, uh, how often are you performing now? Because obviously you do it for a living. Uh,
hmm
you said you had shows every day, but that's not a normal thing, is it? Is that's just over Christmas, right?
Yeah, over Christmas the shows pick up because of like I do mostly cabaret and corporate,
Hmm.
so I think cabaret is a very wintry kind of vibe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I perform in corporate for a very long time. So I started off by doing like I had a there's a pizza place that actually changed a bit. There's a pizza place called Fontana di Trevi when I was a kid, and after seeing Daryl and being pumped up and injected with courage, I went out to like I thought, yes, my skills are now developed. I will now show this to the world. And so I went to I went to the pizza place and I go like it was very famous at the time, Caleb. And I went, "Oh, do you want like a magician just performing at the tables, right?" And they go, no, but we can think about it." I'm like, "Yeah, just think that over and let me know." And so they called me back. No, that is true. I don't know how old I was. I think I was 15.
Wow.
Yeah. And they said, "Yeah, you can come here, but we can't pay you and we can't give you dinner." And like, fucking cool. That's the best deal I could ever expect. And so I started doing like, and in the first month, they were like, "Okay, kids, we've been talking it over, and we can actually afford to provide dinner." And so I was like, "What?" Like I cracked the fucking code. Like free pizza and magic at like 15. This is just amazing, right?
I
And
hear you, bro. I've been
yeah,
there.
yeah. So and I was like, "Yeah, let's go." And then they since well we've gained some trust. I've been there for like a year or something, and I go, "Oh, okay, you can start asking for tips." And I walked around with like a small humble jar with coins that I've pre-placed from home, right? Like €1 and €2 coins. I was not subtle, man. I was not subtle at all. And I just placed the jar down and go, boom, you want to see a card trick? I just did that. And then I was invited like to birthday parties and weddings, and then that evolved to corporate. And that's
Wow.
what I do now. That's the long answer.
Yeah, that's the great answer. Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Well, somewhere along the way you got a mentor, right? Where did that happen?
So along the way, I got a what?
You had a mentor.
I had a mentor. I have several mentors that helped me in, I would argue, several stages of what it takes to become a performer.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so as you know, and you know some of you know at least by name some of mine. Pedro Lera is one. He is currently the Portuguese the president of the Portuguese Magic Association, and he helped me a lot in learning techniques and moves. And Pedro's style was really like fine wine. You know, it just gets better as he grows older.
Hmm.
And I learned a lot of his techniques, very difficult techniques to master, very interesting techniques. And whether we like it or not, the techniques we choose as magicians, shape a lot of our repertoire. Because most magicians, by default and by either passion or obsession, they choose most tricks depending on the technique that provides the most pleasure. I think
That's true.
this is the beginning of the end, but it works. It works for some people, right? Because I love a technique. Like I'm really a palm kind of guy, so I
Me
love.
too.
Yeah, you're. That's why I'm mentioning it, because we're gonna do tricks like you do. One of the most impeccable steals and cards to pocket that I've ever seen in terms of organicity, right? And
Thank you.
that is not easy to accomplish, but by it also not being easy to accomplish is a pedestal which you hold yourself in a high regard by doing it. So we put together our value according to our technique,
Mm.
right? And that's what moves most magician, and it works because you're doing it flawlessly, right? So
I don't think that's true, but thank you.
but yeah, the idea of having mentors is that they shape a lot of you. And most mentors that I've got, for example, Leandro Morgado, which is a mentalist and a mnemonist from mnemonist, is that the word? Mnemonics, like memorize
Oh yeah,
large
yeah, yeah,
chunks of information.
yeah.
Um, he's one of the finest entertainers and performers I've seen live. Period. And
Oh,
I was a fan of him for a long time. I was like a fanboy, and I went to all like the Portuguese Association meetings, and we developed into a friendship, and then that sort of morphed into a mentorship on an underlying level. So I
mm.
think you should have mentors, but I don't think they should be um, directly called mentors. I think that should be something you just draw of people.
Yeah, yeah. I know what you mean. Just like you're inspired by them, and you work on things with them, and
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah. And I was wondering about this. Is mentoring still important in this kind of modern, very information dense world that we live in?
Yes, without a doubt, because I've seen acts. There's a kid I'm recalling from Portugal. I will not mention who it is, but he was doing like a couple of years ago. He was doing a new act for like a competition, which I
Hmm.
can't stand. But he was doing like a new act for a competition thing, and I provided some help. I go, hey, if you want help or if you want directions, I'm here. It was like a stage thing, so I cannot help you in terms of techniques and whatever, but I can help you in composition or any kind of movement or choreography. And he goes, no, 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 you're gonna see it, you're gonna love it. I've been working on it for a year and a half. I'm like, okay. And I was like, have you shown anybody? And he goes, no, 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 only like my dad. And I'm like, okay.
Oh, oh
And then
no.
he went to the and like he performed in the competition, and it was the most vivid hallucination I've had in a while. It involved like stolen paintings and like a drone that was like SpongeBob or whatever. I think this very very weird concept abstract thing. And I'm like, yeah, that's why you should have mentors despite having information, because information and knowledge was always accessible to the public, you know?
Hmm.
Not in terms of magic, because magic was very closed and there wasn't the internet years ago, but I mean in terms of having a helping hand that could go,
Yeah.
hey, do you really want to take that forward? Does that make any sense to you? So mentoring
Mm.
for me is a vital part of magic, because I'm going to evolve into something. I'm sorry if this falls out of the expectation of the interview. There's a sentence by Max Maven that I don't know if it's his, but he says it and it's worth repeating, which was like he did an interview, I think in the late 80s, where he said, I can't quote the source, but he said, in order to be great at magic, you have to let go of the reasons that made you fall in love with it. And that's very
Wow.
ouchy, right? Because
Yeah.
if you think about it, and this was certainly my case, most magicians join magic for a key couple of reasons. The first one being you use magic to fill up your insecurities. That's me, right? Somehow in your life, you would find control over something that you didn't have in your day to day. That was certainly my case. The other one is that people mitigate this myth that magic makes you lose your virginity when in case it just unlikely it's just makes sure that you keep it. And the third one, you were either like touched by a clown or something. I don't know, but the first one is
Whoa.
are you
I'm actually in none of those three.
are your memories a bit blurred?
Yeah. I think I might have blocked that part out.
Yeah, yeah. So I think the insecurities part is where most magicians fall in,
Mm.
and Max Maven said it correctly. Like he gives the example of like a blanket, right? You would use a blanket to smother a fire. That's not what blankets are for, right? So
Yeah, that's
it's a
true.
very pervert use or pervert misuse of a beautiful craft like magic, right? And then you
Mm.
have to somehow surpass that. And I think with the help of thoughtful, high quality mentors, whatever that may be, I will not put myself into that position to judge. You can get there and you can transmute your insecurities into real magic.
Yeah, that's really interesting, actually. I think I'm getting to a stage where where unintentionally that quote is becoming true for me because I've always attributed the reason I got into magic down to more of a technical side of things,
Mm-hmm.
where I was intrigued by sleight of hand, and I
Mm-hmm.
still am. And so I went down that rabbit hole before I actually went down a magic kind of rabbit hole. Uh, and at the moment, that's what I'm trying to get away from, is focusing less on the sleights and more on everything else that's important.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, so that is very relevant, actually.
It
Hmm.
is because I was and I still am at heart a move monkey. So I enjoy
Oh
learning
yeah.
all sorts of techniques of all kinds, even if I don't use them. And that's a fine hobby. But to
Hmm.
translate that on stage, oh, that's a big stretch. That's a big, big stretch, right?
Yeah.
And now, and I can see you, right? And you've performed in the Curious Cabaret,
Hmm.
and I saw some parts that you've posted. I'm like, yeah, this is the alchemy in motion. This is
What
where
do you mean
you
by that?
this is this is where you transmute according to your desire. I
Yeah.
want now
Yes.
something different, right? You got the academical technical part down,
Yeah.
and now it's time to move on because, like,
Mm.
and most magicians have no idea of this. The first time I don't use memorized deck anymore. I have my own stack, and it's like a 10 to 12 card stack. And
Hmm.
if you want more cards, instead of just memorizing more cards, you just pharaoh the shit out of it and you use double. It's fine, right?
Mm.
Like I do a lot of weighing cards kind of stunts.
Hmm.
And this is very intriguing for me because when I used the mnemonica for the first time on stage, I was like, people like ask me a number, like boom, boom, number, card, number. When I got to stage, it's a whole different beast,
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
right? It's different.
Yeah.
It's another energy. It's another amount of shared dynamics. It
Mhm.
has nothing to do with practice, right?
Yes.
That's why I
Yep.
say, like, in my academy, the students that I have, they want to do this all kind of stuff, and they're 12 and 13, and they want to do cool rope stuff. And I'm like, you're gonna choke, man. And they go, you can do it, but you're gonna choke. It's an entirely different thing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you move on to the stage, you start to realize, oh, as you were saying, I need to focus on the external life of magic, what people see, not
Yes.
only on the internal life, which I spend hours and hours on, right? I
Mm.
need to focus on them because that's who matters.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, I think that's exactly when I made the switch as well. Is because on stage, you really like close up. It's very you don't have to have a really great presentation. You can kind of just do a trick and people will like it.
Hmm.
But on stage, it's all about the presentation. The method is totally irrelevant, and it's just a means to an end. And so you have to get away from the method. You have to go to creating interesting presentations and then making yourself an interesting person on stage as well. Uh, Otherwise, it's just you're just
That
you know.
is perfect. That is why that if you book me for a wedding,
Mhm.
like a cocktail kind of thing, it wouldn't matter if I was there or it was a guy that performs magic for 2 years and has a fire wallet, right?
Yeah.
He would have more
Uh,
success even, I
Yeah,
would
because
argue.
people will be like, "What's the fire?" Whereas Francisco,
Yeah,
they'll
yeah.
just hear like rolling and laughter, and there'd be no magic.
Yeah, it's a different kind of beast when you move on to stage.
Mm.
I've been doing stage more and more, and when I look back, I go, "Oh, I was a close-up guy. I would never saw this coming, never."
Yeah,
And when you
yeah,
move from close-up to stage, the techniques are different. What you can get away with is different.
mm.
Your delivery is different. Everything changes. The dynamic is a whole different thing.
Yeah, totally. And if we kind of go back a little bit to having a mentor,
Hmm.
from my perspective, one of the things that having a mentor would help a lot with is developing your own like developing good taste with magic, not just in like choosing effects, but also in techniques or presentations. Have you found that as well?
Um, yes, without a doubt. I sort of have, categorically speaking, if I were to be very blunt, I have a mentor for that helps me craft scripts and helps me polish them.
Mhm.
I have another one that helps me with the organicity of movement and technique and in transit actions. Um, yeah, this helps a lot. Like what I do with mostly my main mentors would be Pedro Lacerda and Leandro Morgado. And with Leandro, things evolve at a different pace because he is often here in my house. I light up the fireplace and we just start talking and drinking some gin uh, after a good like meal, good dinner, like an early dinner, so that we can drink and have some fun.
Mhm.
And Leandro, before a show, like if I'm doing like on the 28th, I was doing like 28th of December. I don't know when this will air, but I was doing a show for 500 people, and every single time Leander calls me, and he goes, "Hey kid," I go, "Hey buddy, how are you?" And he goes, "Are you ready to perform?" And I was like in my dressing room, and I go, "Yeah, yeah." And he goes, "Okay, are you doing the same old shit that you know that works, or are we doing some new stuff?" And sometimes, and we know by experience that we cannot build up something from nothing. But he recalls something from my act, like for example the coaster act that I've told you about,
Mhm.
and he goes, "Oh, what if instead when you're like this, you did this instead of that?" And I'm like, "That's fucking brilliant." And then I go out on stage, I do it, and it either flops or it's brilliant because it's Leander, right? It
Yeah,
either flops or it's brilliant, and I call him back and go, "Oh, you fucking genius! This is perfect, right?" And I think mentorship, it's really this back and forth of things. And with Leandro, the main thing is one of my best friends. It doesn't even it's not even conceivable to me to see him as a mentor, although he is. Do you know the complexity of things,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And this is our unspoken essence. He's here, we drink some gin, we have some fun, and we start spitballing ideas with no intention to watching them stick.
yeah, yeah. That's crucial, right? I was talking in both of the last interviews I've done. We've brought that up around jamming with other magicians and how
Okay.
you really can't be like you can't have an idea as your baby. You have to hold them very loosely and let people be pretty brutal with them sometimes.
Yeah, I think you should be open to whatever the piece is bringing you to,
Mm.
right? You should be completely engulfed in the ideas that you're doing, and this is particularly true when I'm either helping other magicians compose their stuff, which I did, which I love to do, but I did with Matt the last time when I met you,
Yeah,
correct?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right? I like my style of structuring magic was slowly being injected into my veins by my mentors. And my way of doing it, it's just the way they do it, which is I can't think like this, jump on stage, right? You jump on stage, you do what you have to do, and then we reassess. But before you
Yeah.
jump on stage, like when I was helping Matt, and this is a very interesting thing for you to understand because you were there.
Mhm.
Matt was like, "Oh, I'm gonna do this, and then I'm gonna do that, and then I'm gonna do," and I'm like, "No, no, no, no. I'm gonna
Yeah,
sit
yeah.
over there, and you're gonna do the entire act, right?" And then
Mm.
I go, "Stop. Oh, say this here," and he goes, "Oh, that's very funny," and I mean, and that can take you like galloping, right? And
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
creative process for me is deeply rooted in the creativity of several people. You can never create alone. Forget about that. Not for me. There is no way that you can create alone. But some people can argue, oh, what about if an artist has a vision? And I'm like, yeah, but you can't be arrogant enough to predict what can't.
Yeah, and especially in a performing art like magic, where it's all about, uh, well, I'll loosely say entertainment. It's more than that, but it's about the people you're performing for, not just your own self-expression. And
It's very
so
interesting.
having like collaborators in that process takes you out of the takes lets you take yourself out of the picture a bit.
That is very interesting. Do you mean other creators or the audience?
I mean, when you're a magician, we're performing for an audience so that they will enjoy it, so that they will love it, as opposed to a painter maybe who has a vision in mind or something they want to express. And so it's more about them, and then people can buy into that. Whereas we are uh, giving ourselves to the audience, if that makes sense.
Oh, well, it's very interesting. For example, there's yeah, the thing about art is that it's very subjective. We
Yeah.
cannot enter that argument in this
Mm.
conversation because it will never end, right? It's for example, what your relationship to any artistical object is deeply rooted in your emotional projection of that thing.
Mm.
A movie that I love, for example, I absolutely am in love with a movie for several years now called August Osage County, which was a theater play that won a Pulitzer Awards, I think 2009, and then it was converted to or adapted to the film, right?
Mm.
And I really enjoy symbolic stuff, right?
Yeah.
All the underlying roots that have extreme power to change people or to make them think. That's not the case to most people. Like if I showed a movie like that to my mom, for example, it would boom, flown right over her head, right? So it has to do with the emotional projection that I do of certain thing, right? There are people who are gonna watch me in the cabaret and they're gonna fucking hate it, and people are gonna love it, and some people are gonna go, I don't care, right?
Yeah.
It's part.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all part of the game.
Yeah.
You
You can't
can't
control that.
go, yeah, right. There are some people like do you know the manipulator Yu Hojin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Um, there are some laymen who watch his show, like, and Luis Dumatz invites him a lot. They're great friends.
Mhm.
watch the show here. They're like, oh, dude, would you like the most? And he goes, oh, I like this. Oh, the one I didn't like was Yuho Jin. Oh, it's very boring and very. And I was like, okay,
Ah,
this is very interesting,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
People have a different, and this is not to say, oh, they don't understand magic. No, it's not about that. People opinions are relevant,
Hmm.
right? It doesn't mean that Yuho Jin is shit. Far from it,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. Well,
Does
it's
it?
like any art, like in music, just
Yeah,
because some people don't like a song doesn't mean it's a bad song.
exactly. So it's the same exact thing. And you said something very interesting because you have to. This is my take on things. Like you have to go after either effects or creations that you love because that will deeply reverberate onto people.
What do you mean by that?
So I'm looking at a essay I have in my next book about what an artist is and what an entertainer is, right?
Mm.
And I talk about one of the first books my dad bought me, my first more or less serious book. And there's a quote there in that book which says that an entertainer gives you those good old songs that everybody loves and everybody adores, and an artist, what was it? I don't want to misquote. An artist gives you something that you didn't know you wanted, but from now on you want nothing else. Something like this,
Mm.
right? And I don't think the difference between an artist and an entertainer is that dichotomic.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
I don't think it is, oh, you're either an artist or an entertainer. Like, I consider myself an entertainer. If I
Hmm.
am an artist, that's besides the point. That's completely besides the point,
Yeah, I can see that.
right? I am,
Mm.
and I was very, like, I'm crucified by saying this. And then I was warned by my mentor that David Williamson said this many years ago. He said, like in an interview, he said, "Oh, well, I very willingly will put entertainment above magic." And I'm like,
Mm.
yes, yes,
Yes, yes.
yes.
That's totally what I see, especially in your stuff, right? You'll forgo the entire track to like give into the bit,
Yeah, and it
Yeah.
doesn't, like an artist might be more truthful to his vision, like you said, a painter would, but I think they have different roots.
Yeah.
And
And also you can be both.
yeah,
Like,
I'm not knowledgeable enough to talk about that, you know.
yeah, yeah. I don't think they're mutually exclusive either. There are plenty
Hmm.
of very artistic magicians who are
That is
extremely
more than
entertaining.
fair. More than fair.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Cool. Well, just before we move on from like mentorship and all that kind of stuff,
Go ahead.
I'm curious what are some of the most important lessons you've learned, especially from Pedro?
Um. Oh, one that has zero things to do with magic. I'm sorry.
Mm.
Which
That's
is
great.
which is. Let me phrase this in my head because my English is good, but it's not
That's okay.
great. Text like semantically speaking. Pedro was never one to show his magic without being requested.
Mm.
Pedro is for me, the essence of what a diplomat and a great man are. He's graceful. His magic is his personality, right? He found his true magic by living life. And Leandro tells me this quite immensely, which is in order to be a good storyteller, you have to be a good story gatherer.
Yeah. Oh, that's so true.
And Pedro, again, turning back to Pedro, as you see, I'm currently taking from both
Mm.
sides. I was very frustrated. I've been in this for 12 years. I was like, wow, I'm not getting anywhere. I'm not making like signature pieces. I'm not, right? And then out of the sudden, by meeting new people, by experiencing new things that have little to do with magic, you start to come up with this idea and oh, that idea and this and that. And Pedro's way of life taught me a lot, which is So I go, Pedro, can you show me that thing that I can't do because he's a fucking god? Can you show me that thing? And he goes, oh, I had that thing, didn't I? I was like, yes, it was brilliant. How can you forget?
Mm.
Right? I start to wonder, like, this man is one of the few left true lovers of magic. He loves it so much that he does not perform it professionally,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
He loves it
yeah.
so much that he doesn't want to spoil it or pervert it by doing it every fucking day at every fucking hour. You're tired, you're whatever. He wants to encapsulate that feeling of being Ascanio's spiritual son
Mm.
and being having that unspoken essence. So I would say that what I've learned from them was that yeah, so shut up, be humble, worked truthfully, and ego ruins shit.
That's a great piece of advice. Yeah, especially the last one.
Yeah, and this comes from being very technically advanced at a young age and thinking that I have the world in my hands. And I've seen the interview with Antonio.
Mhm.
He had the same feeling as well, and this is very transversal to all of us.
Mm.
So again, we start by doing that by creating walls that go, oh, you're making fun of me, watch what I can do, right? Or this is my secret weapon. And then you move on and you start working to the people that you are working for ages, but I just saw the audience 5 years ago. That's very sad, but that's
Wait, sorry,
I just saw my audience. I just made my audience feel seen and validated in this, like in a handful of years. Because before that, it was for myself. And
oh, I see. I see.
mentors opened up that, who are you? No, you're nobody.
Mm.
So keep working, keep being humble, and draw inspiration a lot.
Yeah, yeah, that's super, super important.
Sorry if this was too long.
No, there's no time limit. So this is great. This is great. This is just boosting my watch time on YouTube.
Oh,
So
lovely. I don't know if we're halfway through or whatever, but for your viewers, it's fucking cold in Sintra. The humidity, the humidity goes to the bones. So I'm sorry for this. You
mate,
gotta, you,
it's a total vibe. You need the fireplace in the background though. That's what you need.
like, you got a
Yeah.
New Zealand guy all dressed up, and he's gonna interview a
Yeah.
fucking homeless guy.
Yeah, well, maybe I'll overlay a photo of Francisco, like peak kind of
Yeah,
suit attire,
with my
wowing
three
his
piece,
audience.
with my three-piece British suit, man. I want that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I want that green screen on.
Yeah, exactly. So you know that this is not just a random hobo I found. Like this guy, he just watched, he just watched the Revelations tape in 2 hours, and then I've just asked him to recite stuff. It's like ChatGPT, you know?
If you learn a good poem, a good color change, you're ready to go.
Great. All right, we can move on. Thanks, Francisco. I'll see you another time. I'll pay you later. Um,
Hmm.
one of the main things I want to talk to you about, as I mentioned at the beginning, is creating falling magic, because you are one of those people who thinks a lot about how you construct an effect, both from an inner perspective, from a technical methods standpoint, and also from an outer reality. So, how do you approach constructing falling magic?
Oh, that's a hard-hitting one. So,
Sorry,
no,
we're
no,
not letting up. We're not letting up on the deep stuff.
it's fine. It's fine. So, essentially, so this is what right off the bat, I tried writing about structuring magic,
Mhm.
Um, I don't believe that structuring magic can have like a structure that you can follow, but I think you get used to doing things a certain way and they become an habit. Therefore, they become the creative decisions and process that you later follow because it works so well before.
Mm.
That would be the first thing I would say. The second one is I don't know how to talk about structuring magic unless I use examples to kick me off. So
Okay,
in my
perfect.
lecture, I talk a lot about moving from close up to stage. It's as we said, it's a different beast, and the stuff you get away with, man, it's just ridiculous. It is
Mm.
because you can move from having to do things, and as you know it, you're technically flawless. So in close up, you have to be
Yeah.
right. You're very comfortable in close up because you use your technique as a shield and simultaneously as a weapon. As you
Mm.
said, you need a presentation for the stage.
Yeah.
I'm shit at structuring magic in close up, but stage wise, first of all, I go, what do I like? What is funny to me? Where can I show most of me? Where can I unravel the more humanity in? How can
Mm.
I make this? And the Spanish know this for a long time. The Spanish magicians, they don't say magic trick, they say game. They
Yeah.
say un juego de magia.
Mm.
Because you bring the audience out of their game and you seduce them into yours, right? I'll provide an example. When I was, I would argue this was almost 9 years ago. I I watched Mac King perform like a signed card coming out from a zipper.
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, you want to see it again?" And he just palms it off the top again without putting it into the middle. And he goes again, he takes it away, he puts it back on top. People are just dying laughing. And then he palms it again and he goes, "Oh, you want to see that? Oh, over there to the top. Do you know this?" Or he goes,
No,
"Are
I
you aware?"
haven't seen
Okay,
it.
so he gets a signed card out of the zipper and he takes it immediately and he places that on top of a face down deck. And he goes, "Oh, you liked it. You want to see it again?" He palms it again,
Mhm.
invisibly, and he takes it out again. He puts it on top. "Oh, for the front row." And he takes it out again. He puts it on top. He palms it again. "Oh, to the back. Oh, to the people in the back seat." And this is funny. Okay? This is
Yeah.
so funny. But this is also, like, again, I said I put entertainment above magic. Now let me get out of this rabbit hole. This is also a flaw in the
Yeah.
because you're exposing the method after doing it,
Yeah.
which makes no relevance at all, no consequence at all, because people
Mm.
will forget. Magicians are like, oh my god, why is it? No, nobody cares.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
But from a fooling standpoint, again, structuring magic, as you asked, trying to remain on point, um, it's very poor.
Mm.
And that is objectively true. This is not an opinion, so it's people will figure out that.
Mm.
So I was like, yeah, okay. I was invited to do a theater musical cabaret show where I played a magician from the 90s who was smoking cigarettes and roasting the shit out of people, Caleb. It was the funniest shit I've ever done
Oh,
in
you'd
my
be
life.
so good at that.
Right, and so that's where I started developing my style because the show I did just before New Year's Eve,
Hmm.
I saw people pulling back because I was too bold, and this was like in a small town in the middle of Portugal, so
Hmm.
they're not used to seeing entertainment and not broad entertainment.
Yeah.
So I noticed some people by my standards and by my delivery on stage pulling back. That's why I got along so well in the UK, and whenever I go there, I have so much fun with the audience because it's the say like it's a British humor with some fucking spice on it, right?
Yeah.
I call like I'm very, very bold in this sense.
Yep.
And so I developed the act, and the act was someone signs the card, and the card ends up in my zipper.
Mhm.
I was like, okay, and then I'm gonna just get the deck of cards so I can display this to you.
Oh, here we go.
And so this is what I started doing, and this might help for those who are watching. So I started having the person to my left,
Mhm.
and I had like I normally work with the tripod and the mic stand, like the mic stand with the microphone.
Mhm.
And the person was standing, and I did the first time, and I was like, ah, fuck, it's rude, isn't it? People are standing for what, 6 minutes? That's a lot of time for a layman to stand. So I got him a chair. I was like, oh, but I want to do this kind of thing.
Mhm.
So they can't be here, they have to be there. So I moved the chair here and I sat them down. And
Right,
then
hang on, is this mid-performance?
no, this is in my
This
head
is
performance after performance, right?
Okay.
No, this is not mid performance. That would be funny.
Hey, sorry, I gotta do this technique. Can you?
Can you move that way? That is funny as hell, right?
That's a bit.
And I go, yeah, I just know this one. I'm sorry. Can you move? I told you to. So, and then I went, this about structuring magic. And so I went like this. I was very happy with what I did. I was like, yeah, I'm going to force that motherfucker. Right? And, I was like, can you say stop?
Stop.
I'm like, ah, fuck, I have to drop all of that. That's a lot to drop, right? And then I went, oh, okay, there we go. Take that card. And then I forgot my script. I was like, oh, this is funny. So I'm letting the internal life of magic, the mechanic of magic, get in the way of what people are experiencing. Nope, never again, right? And then I was like, let's go. Now I'm going to practice this technique to perfection. This is what I thought the solution was. They're like, say stop. And they were drunk as fuck because it's a cabaret. And I
Yeah.
perform in the third half only. They're
The third half.
Yeah, and I was like this, and they never say stop. And I'm like, ah, I gotta do one of these, and then one of these, and then one. And I was like, okay, fuck it. It's like I would do this in close up. I would never do this on stage. And I was like, okay, let's move this from another point. I want to be able to do this because I'm going to force a card that has a corner short. Two in this case, this one and this one.
Yeah.
So I'll just leave it on top. So let's say the Jack of Spades. And I go like this. They see the cards. I move it to the bottom. They're here. And I go, do you mind saying stop? And they're being assholes again because it's the cabaret environment. They think magic in cabaret is a certain way. They need to behave irrationally and lavishly and rudes. And they go, stop here. And they go, no, a bit more. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I didn't choose that technique. And so I keep going and they say, stop, right? And I would go, okay, do you mind putting your hands like this? And they place their hands like this. And I did a one-hand bottom deal.
Ah.
And then,
yes, so much better.
And then I thought to myself, fucking genius, I got it. And then I realized that people they don't have the hand structure to know what holds a card. So the card just jumps and flies off. Like, okay, so that doesn't work. And I was thinking and thinking and thinking. And then during one of the performances, and this is the important part of structuring magic, doing it on stage for people that care about you and go, that's shit, that's good, that's shit, that's good. Why are you doing this? I came up with this. So this is very stupid in theory, but it works. Like my teachings and my style is a blend of theoretical structures with a blend of real world applications. I don't do, if you do this, maybe. No, it has to work because it's tested, it's audience tested, and it's proved to be the best, right?
Mm.
So this is the silliness I do. Don't pull back, and everyone who's watching. Do you mind just saying stop?
Stop.
I'm gonna move this down so that it's better, right? Let's imagine the person is here, and I go, oh, do you mind putting your hands like this? Now put them together like you were in the Last Supper. Oh, a religious one. That's nice. That's very nice. And I just give it to them. So what I do is I go, do you
Yeah,
mind putting
it's
your
so
hands
good.
like this? And then as they do it, I go, oh, a religious one. I found it. And this is the offbeat moment where I just sneak it off the bottom and I do this. And since they saw this card when I did this, subliminally, when they see it again, I go, look at that card, and they see that it must be this one, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
entire movement is based on, oh, do you mind opening your hands like you were, oh, that's perfect, and take that card. This is what you would see from your seat, because
Yeah,
now
yeah.
that person is blocked by either the joke that I did
Mm.
or my hand, which is very rudely in the way.
Exactly. You got
They
the
hit,
perfect angle for a bottom deal.
and then they are completely clueless because they're laughing, and
Mm.
this is all covered. So I
Yeah.
go, just take that card and give it a signature, right? And when I place the card back into the deck, I go, do you mind? I go like this. You say stop, and I go. They say stop, but I don't listen. I go, place your card in, and they place it in. I go, yeah, say stop, and oh fuck, and you do that bit
Mm.
there where, and this is like people are laughing like crazy here. But
Yeah.
the structure behind it is what people saw in the external life was he did like this. He gave her the card, and then the card was placed back in the exact same procedure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Exactly. Super important.
This is what people see, and that took a year and a half just to get
Mm.
that right. And then just the way I get that card, I go, "Is this your card?" And they go, "No." Okay, okay. The card now jumps from the packet. And I'm just trying to see if they're convinced, right? They're very unconvinced. Like it goes through the air. In this motion of doing this riffle shuffle, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
peeked the corner
yeah.
and I brought it to the top with an external movement. So it's now on top. And I go, it goes around. It goes through your hair or it wouldn't be in that mess. It goes all the way there. And then people are like, ah, fuck you. You're kidding. It's lost. And I palm the card. I put the deck in the pocket. I take the mic stand, the mic off the mic stand. So I'm having the palmed card.
Yes. I love this subtlety so much.
And I'm like, people are laughing their heads off. And like, see what you did? This is all you, man. This, whatever this ends up to be, this is your fault. And then I just open the zipper, I transfer the mic, and then in I go. And then I
Wow.
just milk the shit out of that moment. Again, structuring magic. How can, like, I have the card in my zipper, and then I close the zipper enough so that the card stays there. Because the suit pants, the zipper is always very long, for God knows why. And the first times I did it, one of two things would happen. Either the card would fall out, which is less than perfect because the people who are in front in the dinner show of the cabaret, they can't see the floor, so I swapped it somehow for them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Or it falls inward, which is incredibly funny. Like the card is there and then just boop, goes into the pants, and I'm like,
Maybe I'll take it out. Yeah,
and I'm
yeah.
like, something happened. And it's less than ideal because how do you prove that that was the card that, right? And then it's just trial and error. I just closed the zipper enough so that it stuck. And then I would have someone taking the card out with their hands. I'm like, no, some people might not like that. Like, I'm very thoughtful about it. Like magicians who,
It's tempting to just say that's a funny moment, let's do it. But
yeah, it is. But for me, and this for all the magicians, like I have no judgment. I just not that I don't have judgment. I don't have a how do you say it, bad judgment to things. I just judge the action itself and why people are doing
yeah,
it. I have no love for magicians who give food to spectators on stage. Like
yeah,
they give them a banana or like a cookie or like fucking, what are you doing? You don't know if people are allergic to it. You don't know if people are like. I saw a
Mm.
comment like Michael Amar released I think it was ring to walnut or ring to whatever, ring to walnut. I
Yeah.
think they're, yeah, from
Hmm.
Penguin.
Hmm.
And there was a comment there that most magicians will look at it and laugh like, "Oh, what an idiot!" But I watched that comment and I go, "That's actually a fair point." Which was, um, what if the spectator is allergic to nuts? And like
That's a good point.
this is funny from the outlook, right? Because we look at the effect and we go straight into, oh, fucking, an audience would love this. This would
Yeah,
be
yeah, yeah.
to an audience, right?
Mm.
And that guy was like, oh, what if he has a nut allergy? Right? And this is very,
Mm.
very fair. You
It,
have to be very
it's very
concrete,
important. Yeah.
very concrete in this stuff. So I was like, it's very poor taste to have people putting their hands so close to my groin.
Mm.
That's what I thought. And I just found some big ass fucking tweezers. The ones where you squeeze them and they open up very wide. Do you know them?
Yeah, 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 yeah,
Like a
yeah, yeah,
cartoon,
yeah,
they go
yeah.
pook pook.
Yeah,
They go
exactly. Yeah.
and like as I remove that, so I structuring magic again. I do you know what you do when you have like a wet towel? You just milk
Yeah.
it,
You
right?
ring it. Yeah.
Yeah, a ring it. Yeah, that's the you just go until there's nothing left, right? You
Hmm.
just go boom. But you have to know when to stop, right?
Yes.
And so I go, yeah, a Mac King would take the card out and show it and do that gag again, and it's fucking funny. But my idea is even better. Like I want to do with the tweezers. And Leandro turned to me and he saw the footage. People are just holding onto their bellies, right? And he went, "Oh, that's very funny because it has a very cartoon look." It goes,
Yeah.
and Leandro says this. Okay, so Francisco, before you hand out the tweezers to the spectator to your right, you go 1, 2. They laugh, and you go, just out of curiosity, have you ever smuggled drugs really, really well? Right? Because a tweezer is what you use to remove stuff out of whatever, like
Ah,
skin or
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and this is a funny joke, and I was like, that's fucking brilliant, right? Like, I've ever smuggled drugs really well, and you go boom, boom, right? And then people are laughing, and then she takes that and she's moving close, but when she does this, they're very quick, and I go, oh, easy woman. Like, wait, like that's a sensitive area. So now you've added like 2 minutes
Yeah.
of brilliant entertainment. Like
Mm.
the internal life of magic is over. What you had to
Yeah.
do was a force, a riffle shuffle to find the corner shorts, and a simple palm,
Yeah.
and you get 8 minutes of entertainment.
Yeah.
And
And it's
then
awesome how you turned that problem of, I don't want them to reach down to my groin. How do I do this? To actually making it so much better than you getting some cheap laugh from them grabbing that card out.
again, and we are talking about this in a very yeah, as we talked in the beginning, you
Yeah,
can't
so
do.
I'm skipping over the obvious uh, benefits of doing that, which is that they don't have to, reach near your groin. But you've turned that problem into a solution.
Yeah, again, don't be arrogant in predicting what you can't. So you never know how a piece is going to.
Mm.
And now it becomes one of my signature pieces. Like I've done that piece for the Madame Lisbonne theater musical show in the cabaret. We did like 60 sold out sessions.
Wow.
And then because of budget wise, that thing fell off. And then they asked me to be the host of the cabaret show. That's
Hmm.
where it all actually began.
Mm.
And then I thought, yeah, this would be a terrific piece for cabaret environment, wouldn't it? Because it has all the essential parts of what a laymen would think when they think of burlesque and cabaret. Sensuality, innuendos, very close to the sexual part, but still keeping it nice and clean with a touch of sassiness, right?
Mhm.
And it maintains the thing clean, and it says a lot about the performer as well, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Mm.
So yeah,
Well,
sorry, just so I can end.
no.
I structure magic by going on stage and going like my mentor, right? By going on stage and going, what's funny? What can be done here? And like, and this is, um, I'm not sure if you're a fan of football, but I every Sunday or Saturday, depending when I do not have shows, my favorite thing to do is to sit with my granddad watching the Premier League, right?
Mm.
And I've watched most of the head coaches and the best coaches in the world talking. And they're mentors. They are mentors. They have to be
Yeah.
mentors.
Yeah.
They instill and inject their style onto the players. And when they move to another team, they have to readapt and reshape their style. That's how it is. And I overheard, like I saw, I don't know if it was like an interview with Pep Guardiola, the head coach of Manchester City at the moment. And he said that I have to, my players have to play for the striker they have, not the method they think the ball would get there. So if I want to play the ball to the striker as I want, it's going to be shit every single time. But
Mm.
if I listen to what the striker is and what he does, I can better adjust my
Yeah.
style to him. So as a mentor, the job of my mentors is to look at me and go, okay, Francisco is gravitating towards this style. What would be funny in this style by sharing with my experience?
Right. So you're not, the mentor's job is not to commandeer the student, but rather uh, to just guide them along the right way that they're
Yep.
already going, kind of thing.
Yeah, like a kid, you know,
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
like he learns to walk and he goes, oh, watch the head, right? And
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
watch the, and
Watch the busy
sometimes,
highway. Yeah.
yeah, and sometimes you have to fall in unavoidable mistakes and they cannot do anything about it.
Mm.
You go, oh,
And also,
that,
but that's important. That you can't get anywhere without making mistakes.
yeah. They go, well, now you've learned. Now you're a
Mm.
story gatherer. Congratulations, right?
Yeah.
So yeah.
Exactly. Exactly.
So again, structuring magic would be getting on stage and Fernando Figueiras from the head master of Campus Magic, also a mentor to me. A
Hmm.
great mind, an intellectual
Yeah.
mind that is beyond.
He's
Uh,
crazy.
yeah, you can't fathom. It's just mental. And he was very he's very thoughtful about thinking magic, and he likes to go deep into the heart and soul and where the lava burns of magic, if that makes
Yeah. Exactly.
any sense,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And and it's very important to have all these kinds of characters in structuring magic. I guess you can have a lot of theory but don't have much of the performance, or you can have a lot of the performance and don't have much theory. I think you get to the same places that you might get, but having a good base of people who go, why do you do this? And Fernando tells me this a lot. Why do you do this? I'm watching a footage and I was like, yeah, I panicked, didn't I? Because, yeah, okay. Now my style today, I structure magic along the venue I'm working. I
Mhm.
never do the same thing twice.
Yep.
Like, never. I do the same effects, the same bestsellers, if you want to call it that, but I adjust to the person on stage, which is very important. It's very important to let a spectator shine, right?
Yeah.
And you can structure magic and go, okay, now it's this for life. No, that's like again, Mac King. he does the same thing with the same jokes at the same time, and mostly it works. But I think it would be funny if he would um like if you like he has years and years of it. It's probably a bit tired, to be honest, right? He has shows every day, he has tons and tons of experience. But I think it would I like to tailor the show in a way that it's unrepeatable. This will
Hmm.
never happen again in this way.
Is that to do with the environment, or is that more in terms of your interaction with people?
It has to do with both. I never do the same intro twice,
Hmm. That's
unless the
super
venue
important.
is very similar, right?
Yeah, well, there's a at the London Magic Convention last year. Um, there was a what's his name? Oh, Matt Ricardo. The
Brilliant. It's fucking
brilliant,
brilliant.
yeah, fantastic, like street performer and cabaret artist, one of the best in the world, right? Uh, he in his lecture he said, um, you always have to start by talking about something about the environment or the venue or
Mhm.
the show or whatever it is to show that it's not just a repeated script. You are really there. You're really experiencing this alongside them rather than just performing at them. And it's such an important touch. And you really notice it once you've heard that, because you can tell when someone is just reciting a script. That's the impression I get from. I haven't seen David Copperfield's show, but I've heard a lot of people say that about him, where it's just like he's going through the motions because he's got to do it every single day for the kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's just like really not what magic should be about. It's about creating, like you said, something
Uh,
different.
yeah, again,
But I guess it's
that example is perfect, and that was what my broken English was trying to say when I talk about Mac King, because I love Mac King. His style for me, it's neutral in terms of style,
Mhm.
but I think he's a great performer. But again, yeah, you acknowledge the venue. This is deeply rooted in the literature of magic. Like,
Mm.
acknowledge the place, acknowledge the people. Like, when I get to Maxim, I go, ladies and gentlemen. Well, like there's a saying that goes, please welcome on stage your host for the evening, Francisco Mousinho, right?
Mhm.
And then people are clapping. They don't know who the fuck I am, right? Most of the time, because we got a lot of tourists. And they clap, and I go, hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. And sometimes someone goes, woohoo! Like, yes, you overly excited in the first half of this show, right? And then I engage immediately with him before stating
Yeah,
the rules. What's
yeah,
your name? Where you come from? And he goes, oh, I'm from Lisbon. Oh, well, nice of you to drop by. Well, I have some rules. Have you ever been to a cabaret show? And they either go yes or no. And then I crowd work my way into it.
oh, that's so
So
good.
the essence of the thing is like Leandro was telling me this. Like he got a show where they asked him to do. Oh, we want to do it tailor made. We want to do this, talk about this and this and this and this, and you have to do this new and this new and this new and this new. And he went, oh, okay, sure. And then he got to the venue. He did the same old shit he does with a new script. And people were like, oh, it's fucking perfect. And I was like, yeah, that's what a fucking professional does, right? He maintains the quality of the delivery by knowing what people want versus the quality of their work, and at the same time making stuff unrepeatable. Like, I talk this a
Yeah.
lot in my first book, the Shrouded Soul one,
Mm.
about how, and Darren Brown is a genius in this. Like, he makes planned mistakes to the
Oh yeah,
to
yeah,
the fucking perfection.
yeah.
Like, he knows how to do this. Like, making a show unrepeatable has to do with the performer or the entertainer being um, wildly present. Wildly
Yes,
present. Like,
yes, absolutely.
I've performed along many people, and most of them go, "Oh, how do you remember people's names?" I go, "What? How can't I?" Like, my students will get uh, will get switch in music they will get kicked in the heads using wrestling terms. They would get like RKO'd out of nowhere if
Yep.
they forget an audience member name. Like I've performed a lot with a lot of guys, and they the winner of whatever champion of magic, blah blah. Oh, 3 times, blah, blah, all these fancy titles. Caleb, and they get on stage and they go, "What's your name? Perfect. Come on up, sit down here." And when it's time to engage with them again, the poor thing was just sitting there hopelessly getting
Yeah.
eaten by the shadows. He goes, do you mind? I'm sorry, what's your name again? I'm like,
Yeah.
no!
Yeah.
Don't do that. What are you doing?
Yeah. Exactly.
Don't do that. That's the most, that speaks to the essence of what you're doing.
Exactly. It's about so much more than a name, right? It's about you've forgotten them as opposed to just their name.
It's the rudest thing I've ever seen someone do, because like in the end of the, like when I do the cabaret show, in the end, depending on the engagement of the people that I talk to, if they're really reactive or if I can tell they're not that reactive, so I move along, I get the names of 6, 7 people all at the same time. Like someone says something funny, and I go, "Hey, easy, you're not in whoever's house," and I state the name. And that they all laugh and they go, "Yeah, because this is the humanity behind it." The humanity behind it is learning that we're all people and that we're all want to be seen and validated and be a part of things, right? So my philosophical response to the structuring magic part is audience first. Right? Audience first. Like, I know these techniques, but then I go, oh, like, I've crafted the techniques for my zipper act by having tough spectators. And instead of going, oh, they were assholes. No, they were not. They could be assholes. They were not assholes. They helped you shape what you're doing now.
Yeah.
Because they by being present in a live performance environment, they flagged out all your flaws.
Yeah.
You didn't like it, Francisco.
Exactly.
You didn't like it, and you were very defensive about it because you used magic to fill up your insecurities. Now, it frees me up to a whole different thing, right? The coaster thing that I do, right? Where I put the coaster in my head. Like with Leandro, the structuring magic is, how do I make this into a bigger effect? Because I could just show the coaster, give it to examine, put it into my forehead, and that stays there.
But that's the only important thing is making it into that bigger effect, though, isn't it? That's what makes it.
Yeah, because it's a shit magical effect. So I have to. It is. It is. Like I have a. You haven't seen it, but I have a.
No, I haven't.
I have a silk through rope routine, which is the shittiest, less magical thing you have seen in your life. Like Chris Angel does better magic than that, right? And it's just like I take a rope, I put it like this, I stomp it with my feet so that it's stretched, and then I take my pocket handkerchief and I give it 3 knots, right? And then in the end, boom, it comes out. It's shit, right? You're so nice as a host because you're quiet. That's a very nice trait. And I was like, this is shit. How can we make this funny? Like the first, I would argue, I'm not even fucking kidding. The first 10 times I did it, I was crying on stage laughing and people are crying with me. It was funny as fuck because it just looked like I was pulling their chains. I was just going like this and going, it's gonna not good. And I just moving the silk up and down. It's not coming out, is it? Oh, this is how man discovered fire, by the way. And then just smoke started erupting of the silk, right? So just loads of smoke, and I'm like, oh Jesus Christ! Like You would try to make something into something major, right?
Yeah.
This is how I structure magic. I enjoy taking like a little nugget, a little golden nugget of an old book that is not like like a tarbell thing that you look at it and then you do it in to your family at Christmas, and
Mhm.
then taking that into a larger thing.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really underdone these days. It's so often see the opposite and take a brand new thing and try
Yeah.
to do it.
So
But
mainly the things that I'm writing at the current moment, when I'm writing the history behind the acts that I'm writing,
Mhm.
I go, oh, so this is something that Slidini used to use to whatever. This is
Mm.
not written. I'm like, oh yeah, that's not written. And I go, oh, this is a mix between George Sands and whatever. Like, oh, that's old as fuck. But that's where it started because these
Mm.
fuckers knew magic, like the John Cornelius and the Derek Dingles of this life. All the
Mhm.
people, like most people that went to like the 4F convention,
Yeah.
like the old schoolers, they knew what fooling magic was, right?
Mm. Yeah.
And so I'm in the shoulders of giants.
Yeah, we all are.
So yeah, structuring magic for me is just getting up on stage and thinking, first getting up on stage with an object, an artistical object that I find exciting,
Mhm.
right? I find like lately I'm finding very exciting the bottle through body, like the
Okay.
little gimmick thing on top. You know, like, okay, I'm seeing all the versions there is. Uh, what's funny? Like, how
Mm.
can I make this major? How can I make this interesting, right?
Mm.
More interesting. So yeah, this it's all about how to build it up.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Well, one of the this is a more specific question.
Yeah.
But one of the things I love about what you do, and I was talking to Matt before this as well, and for all the
Okay.
listeners, I'm talking about a mutual friend of ours, Matt Allenningham, who is absolutely great guy, very funny. I know he's listening right now. He's an absolute unit, and I'm saying that because he's letting me stay with him. Um,
The
um,
the called advertisement.
yes. Anyway, so I asked Matt, are there any things you want me to ask Francisco? And he picked up on a point which I had forgotten about, which is that you're really good at contextualizing really like seemingly silly and impractical and niche moves. Like, for example, when I last saw you in London, you in a restaurant showed us I can't remember what it's called, but the longitudinal steel from By Force of
Yeah,
Unseen. And
the
turning that into an intransit action and justifying it, turned it from this very Move Monkey-esque move, which I've only seen on Instagram, where the camera is just here, the head's off, it's crotch magic. Um, but you turned that into something that's like, wow, that has very real practical value. So how do you approach that? Because that is a really difficult thing to do.
Wow, that is another hidden question that I will respond with another philosophical one question. So the first thing that comes to mind is you need to have stage time. That is
Yeah.
the most important thing, is being on stage. Like I had a student of mine who's been doing magic for over 20 years. One of the most humbling, knowledgeable people I know in regarding magic. He's an amateur, complete amateur, in the good sense of the word.
Mhm.
Someone who loves what he does. He's a very successful entrepreneur, but he does that out of love. And he goes, Francisco, I want to start performing again. And I go, that's lovely. Let's go on stage. And we have like our, each month in my school, we have something called open mic magic, which is people who are either starting out magic or veterans who want to try new material.
Yeah.
And so
We
they,
just started something like this in Nottingham.
oh, that's lovely. Yeah, because
Mm.
that creates stage time. And so this guy has a very particular archetype that's very fun to explore, which is the geeky dad who's very nice to everyone, who's very, right? And I'm like,
Mm.
fuck, this guy has a gold mine and he's not even fucking aware. He's not, and I'm not aware of my gold mine. because my mentors have to state it to me, because we are very good at judging others, but we're very poor at judging ourselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And so this guy did a simple act of a card is selected in the clearest manner, is lost into the deck, and there's a bag. The cards are thrown into the bag. He's handcuffed in the, like, those handcuffs, those metal handcuffs.
Thumb cuffs. Yeah.
Yeah, old school thumb cuffs.
Mhm.
And then he goes in, he takes out a card, it's the wrong card, but then behind the thumb cuffs, the card is there, right?
Yeah.
That's the effect. Very simple, very direct, very fooling. It's missing the entertainment, right?
Yeah.
What's funny? What can be done? And I go, okay, he's a dad. He has 2 kids. One is 8 months old. The other one is, I think 3 or 4, maybe 4, if I'm not mistaken. And she loves to watch Paw Patrol, like those little, do you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
The entire world is composed by dogs. And they're like firefighters, and he was telling me that story, right? He was telling me that story like, fuck, that's it, right? So he goes on stage and he has a Christmas sweater because he did a show just before Christmas. And that sweater, like corny ass fucking sweater, those greens and reds of Christmas. And it says Daddy Elf, right? And he's very geeky, like thin glasses, very like this. And he goes, hello, good evening, everyone. I don't know if it shows, but I'm a dad, right? And just this is just, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, my kid enjoys watching Paw Patrol, and she enjoys watching this, and that. And I found her handcuffing my son, my 8-month son, against the wall while she was watching Paw Patrol arresting the bad guy. It's enough to say that no more handcuffs to her. But for me, yeah, because this is lovely. And then he just takes out the thumb cuffs, right? This is funny, right? The kinky dad that doesn't show. So by having stage time, like this guy got off stage, he gave me a hug and he goes, oh man, I have so much to improve. This is what he said. I have so much to improve. And I almost like dropped a tear because this guy went immediately, well, he's been this in 20 years plus. He went immediately into, I'm so excited because now I know what I have to get better at.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So by having stage time, it provides a different perspective on the techniques you use and how you use them. And again, that technique that you were referring to, I can show you real quick so that people at home can see it. I'll do it face up, which is shit and close up. So the card is lost and it's placed again on top. So this is a shit move and I can't do it properly. 2 mutually exclusive things, apparently.
I beg to differ.
And by moving this to stage, you get the card into the deck, so you turn slightly this way. The deck is facing the last person to your right in the theater or in the whatever venue. And the card is lost. And when the card is lost, you push it to the side. And you have this move. But you can do also this move. Right? And it's much more relaxed. And as I'm here, I go, so you signed the card. I push it back up again. And can it be with you? Can you help me just coming up here on stage and I'll give you the deck. And then like this is what you have.
It's so much better because you're in that you're not giving it to them like here you go.
Yeah.
Like this is a very
see, this is lost here and here. Like the reading that a layman does on what technique, it's a wildly different thing from what magicians use, right? And I've seen magicians I have friends that do cruise ships, and they do the same fucking technique that they know it's suspicious as hell, and they go, yeah, I haven't gotten around to change it. Because they're lazy and it works, not because it's very clean, just it works. Right? So by having stage time and by putting yourself on stage, the first thing I would say is just let go of all techniques that require you to take a deep breath before doing them.
Oh, well, that's my repertoire out the window.
No, because
I know what you mean.
you have a
Yeah.
different kind of comfort by doing them. I would never like. I saw you do that thing with the.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Paper switch. Yeah.
I would never. I would never.
Really?
Not even
because of the technique.
because of the predicament that you put yourself in. I
Right.
would not survive, because I immediately go, that's not. I'm not talking about taste.
Mhm.
I'm talking about I would drown if I do it, because that's not my style of presentation.
Okay.
Not in terms of taste. I mean, that's not my style of. Because you develop, again, we talk about this in the beginning, you develop a style of technique in the beginning by the
Yeah.
things you love. If you love rope magic or coin magic, you develop like a pause, like an elegance. You develop a personality. Like coin magicians are like this all the time.
Yeah, you develop the
Yeah, and
yeah.
I'm not saying this is bad. I'm saying they're very limited by technique. Again, very
Mm.
limited by technique.
Especially
Goldsmith,
with coin magic.
Danny Goldsmith.
Yeah. Oh, he's so good.
Like I get dizzy every time I see it. Like, oh Jesus Christ, right? But
Yeah.
again, technique limited,
Yeah.
right? Because prop limited, maybe. The genesis of the prop.
Especially with coin magic. Yeah.
Because if I get like a friend of mine just shared, I do like a big rope routine. I don't know if you saw the footage of the rope routine I did.
I've seen it. Is that the one with the police or the police car or whatever?
The ambulance, yeah.
The ambulance.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I do the homing cart thing,
Mhm.
right? Again, it's a routine that I've done for years, right? And I'm slowly, I slowly picked up stuff from here, from there.
Yeah.
And I end up, like, the final phase of the routine is this. So I have one card, right? Which is 2. And I don't enjoy gimmicks that much. I rather depend on myself. So I do the Lacerda throw, and I do this move as well, which is from Pedro. So again, this motion, where the card just rotates like so. And I go, okay, one card. I don't know what we can do with one card, maybe.
Yes, this is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about.
Okay, we'll do it another way, right? And this came from, like, I saw Guy Hollingsworth's version with the clip, and I saw like the Caps version where he did this silly old kind of move that I don't like that much. And I started doing the routine, God bless. And I started doing the routine by doing this, and I'm like, I hate myself immediately, right? And so I was reading.
But that kind of move would suit someone like Dom.
For example, right?
Dominic Miles, for all the listeners.
Yeah, Dominic Miles.
He also is listening. So hi, Dom.
So this is very, very interesting because, again, what Dom does, with my experience on stage, if I try to replicate Dom's repertoire, I would wet myself and my knees are shaking immediately. Like immediately. Because it's a different style of upbringing in magic. It's a different style of mentors in magic. Let's not forget who he looks up to.
For those listening who haven't heard of Dominic, you should check him out. But he is loves Guy Hollingworth's work. Has a very similar style to that.
And Guy loves his work as well.
Oh yeah. And I will say this here because I always brag about this from him, that he has given Guy Hollingworth has asked him for advice on his own material that was published in Drawing Room Deceptions. I mean, how much of a flex is that?
Yeah, that is, and again, that can create a mentorship. Developed style and attention to some details it makes you gravitate towards more one people than other. And again, essentially, where I upgraded this effect, I was invited to perform in Luís de Matos Festival,
Mhm.
and we used to do like 3, 4 shows in the streets every day for a week, right?
Mhm.
And I was doing like with like people all around me. I was doing this, so I was removing the card, I was loading the card, I was doing this, and I go, with one card you can't do much, right? Okay, we don't do it. And people are like, whoa, right? And then in this action I went, oh yeah, but instead of putting the card away, I could do something with it. And then I was talking to one of the great minds in magic, Joaquin Matas and
Mhm.
David Navares, and all these Spanish guys that I hold dear in my heart, and who are great friends. And they
Mhm.
go, "Oh, you should get rid of this card." And when I did this, so I went like this. I did this, and I went, "Oh, I don't know. Okay, maybe we do it with one card." And the people started applauding. I go, "Oh, I'm sorry. We'll do something different. This is a stupid little trick, and I won't bother you again." I derailed the entire evening, and then I just during the applause, I
Mhm.
just get rid of that card, and I would throw it into the audience as I load this into the TKO,
Mhm.
right? Or I would pick up the ropes from my pockets and I would let it go.
Yep.
And some magicians, like Spanish magicians watching, I go, "Yeah, I didn't know how you did the switch, and I didn't know how you got rid of it." And I go, "What? Like, yes, yeah, right." So it's just a matter of style and composition,
And
stage.
that also shows the benefit of bringing those techniques in. It's not just about finding a use for a difficult technique. Those techniques are actually, they're falling, and they're because they're not just a double lift, they catch people off guard if they have some knowledge about sleight of hand as well. So, yeah, man.
Yeah, it is because and one of the great minds in magic to do this was one of the most gifted academical students I've ever seen was Elder Guimarães,
Oh yeah.
right? The Portuguese
Mm.
FISM first prize FISM winner, card magic, 2006, if I'm not mistaken. Um, I got the pleasure to talk to him quite a few times and to because he wrote some words for Pedro's book,
Mm.
and he holds Pedro in a high regard, and he holds Pedro as his mentor as well. And he states in his book, I think it's Reflections from 2013, that Pedro has one of the best multiple shift controls, and it's the one he uses the entire time. I can show here so that I can spread Pedro's words. Ace, Jack, 5, and 10, because
Mhm.
I'm very lazy to get all 4. So you see the cards going in very cleanly, and I just give it a proper, like
Oh,
a clean
nice.
cut, and
Yeah.
you get
Wow.
the
Yeah,
same
that's
cards on
great.
top. And Eldad takes these academic notions of the forgetfulness from Tamariz, the parentheses, the theory of false solutions. He inhales everything from the Magic Way and Pep Carroll and
Hmm.
Ascanio,
Hmm.
and he puts this into the composition of really fooling magic.
Yeah.
Like he's one of the
Oh yeah.
true
Oh yeah.
he's one of the true composers of strong magic, right?
Yeah. I actually haven't seen enough of his work, but the work that I have seen, for example, his TED talk, is bro, fried me on so many levels. It's unreal and so beautiful as well.
It is, and Eldad is in this, like his dad Jean Magui just chucked the deck of cards in his hand when he was born. Like the day he was born, here's the deck of cards. Took a photo, um, and this creates like having an academic structure might not always lead to being a great entertainer and a
Hmm.
great performer. In Elder case, it does, and it does by a mile, right?
Mm.
But again, in developing style, I was a great fan of Elder Guimarães for a long time. I still am, but
Hmm.
not in terms of the magic he does. Like I'm a great admirer of his magic, I'm
Yeah.
always down to see his magic, wherever that is, whether in north of Portugal or south. I always go and see him because I learn a lot with him. But we couldn't be more far apart in terms of style on stage, right?
Yeah, that's true.
And
Because
that's
Haldo is not someone who is going to derail his magic trick for the entertainment, right?
no,
He's much more. He's going to stick
no.
to
He
his
is
guns in that
he is a
regard.
true master of the art. Like,
Yeah, yeah,
you can call it. In my case, you can call it either not having knowledge enough or being lazy. But I saw a Derek Hughes podcast.
hmm
Great entertainer again. Like, I praise great entertainers who perform magic. And he was saying something that just punched me right in the face, which was, I think as a performer, I help people fuck. And I was like, what? Who is this, right? And I was like, and he goes, yeah, like, I like getting people in the mood. I do a lot of comedy, like Sellers and all these comedy clubs. And they're in the late night show, they're having a drink. They want to leave there with the sense of having a good night.
Mm.
And I take that sentence he said, and I put it in a more polite way, which is, as a performer, I inspire and entertain and help people to see their own humanity by sharing things that are artistically relevant to me, but they are deeply relatable content to them, right? And
yeah,
that
yeah.
puts
That's
people,
a good way of putting it.
that's good, that brings people in a good mood.
Mm.
And I really enjoyed that sentence, right? Because it
Mm.
makes total sense to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm. Well, we have been diving into some deep stuff, so I want to go into a more shallow, casual
Let's go.
route. Just with a question, which I have asked both the last episodes. Who is one magician you love that hardly anyone knows about?
Oh, Lord. Uh, yeah, that question. Yeah, you told me not to see the last 20 minutes of the interview for something like this.
Yeah.
Can you
Well,
re-
this is actually not one of my closing questions. We're
Okay,
saving
okay,
those
okay.
to
Can you repeat the question so that I have some maneuver to think? Go ahead.
okay. Who is one magician you love that hardly anyone knows about?
Um, yeah, do you mean globally speaking in terms of magic community, I would assume?
Whatever you want.
Um,
It could be someone really local, really small, or it
yeah,
could
so if
be.
I say one of my mentors, that's shit, isn't it?
Well, no, that's a good answer if that's if someone that is mostly unknown.
Yeah, so I would argue that in my so towards the magic community and towards the most recent generations who don't know who this is,
Yeah.
I would say Harry Anderson.
Okay. Well, I don't know who that is, so you got me.
Okay. He was very known at the time, and those who know uh, the proper, the true magic of the late 80s and 90s know who I'm talking about.
hmm
But I would argue is one of the lesser known characters in the magic history kind of thing.
Okay.
Um,
Is he still alive?
that's a great question. I think he passed away a couple of years ago.
Right.
I believe he passed away a couple of years ago. Harry Anderson is one great true entertainer,
Hmm.
and I think you might find some similarities, not in terms of script, not in terms of presentation, but in terms of engagement, because he was a guy who had the same script, the same sentences all the time, but he could deliver them in a pace that was new and refreshing, and that's
Yeah.
really cool. But I would argue one of my mentors, Leandro Morgado,
hmm
which is just, for me, it's an elite performer. In the magic community in Portugal, is praised beyond recognition.
hmm
And it's a person that would require to be more known than it is, because
How can people who are listening find his work?
so Leandro is very low profile, which is a
Which is
fucking,
great.
it's an awful trait for a performer of his kind.
Well,
Uh,
I respect that. I have mad respect for that.
And so just type in Leandro Morgado, I guess, and I think yeah, he has some videos of the Magic Castle many, many years ago.
How do you spell his
Um,
name, by the way? His first name.
so Leandro, Leandro,
Okay.
and Morgado, like
Okay.
woods. Yeah.
Yeah.
He is the shaper of my he is the shaper of some incredible pieces that I have. He is one of my main mentors,
hmm
and he's a guy people should know in terms of everything, in terms of scripting, presentation, charisma, like every true engaging entertainer has what Leandro has, right? And I aspire to be that.
Yep.
So that would be.
Yeah, that's a great answer.
Can I
Awesome.
ask you the same question because I'm very curious?
Ah, that's lovely to be asked this question actually.
In your own
'Cause
show?
I love to, yeah, well, I love to shout out my mates who are under-recognized. I mean, we both know Dominic Miles. We've already said he is just a fantastic
Yeah,
magician.
without a doubt.
He's only got like what 600 followers on Instagram. So everyone listening, go check him out. He's fantastic. His beautiful gentlemanly style of performing. It's hard hitting, it's knuckle busting, it's really, really beautiful. And also with that, one of my other best friends in magic is Mika Harris, who is a street performer, does busking full time. And I mean, it's so cool. Those two we're kind of in this little friend group and have been the last few years. And it's really cool seeing both of them develop to a point where they're not just good because I am their friend, but genuinely like top class guys. And Mika, especially his street show, has transformed into just a genuinely, street shows are those kind of things where you slowly add in bits and you slowly make them better. You don't start with a perfect street show. And his show is so good. It's so fantastic. So
Lovely.
both of those guys, I got to shout them out. Uh,
I've been suggested, I think, like in YouTube Shorts, some
mhm.
things like a hairy kind of guy
Yeah,
with
he's got
beard.
like a ponytail kind of thing, and then yeah, a beard. Yep, yeah, he's
Yeah. Again, I don't know much of his work, and which is the point of lesser known characters in
mhm.
Magic. But again, stage time develops style,
Yeah,
but you can't be judgmental of your work in a negative way. Like
yeah. You've got
I've
it. Yep.
I've fucked up in many shows. Like the New Year's Eve of 2023 to 2024, so a year ago,
hmm
I had someone threatening me with a lawsuit because
Crikey.
they were wildly drunk, and it was the beginning of the second half. I was doing some crowd work, and he was very obnoxious and saying a lot of curse words with kids in the show because New Year's Eve, right?
hmm
And like I've never been in that situation before, right?
hmm
I've been in the cabaret, people like I've been through a lot. People want to beat me up because they're insecure somehow
hmm
or whatever that is. Like I'm the guy who knows not to give food to people, but I'm also the guy to roast the shit out of people. It's a nice, delicate balance, right?
It's a great way of putting
And
it.
it's and like getting stage time and being not just like every time I get footage of my shows,
hmm
I take it immediately to the students. Like if they're performing, I go, record that because we're going to see that. We're going to see the video fully. Then we're going to see the video without sound. And then we're just going to listen to it.
Ah, man, the listening part, that is
Yeah.
that is so valuable.
Because engagement in words, in vocal precision, my voice is not very good at the moment, but engagement in vocal precision, in intent, like intent and vocal awareness can make or break a joke,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Immediately, right? The intent to which you do the joke should be relevant to the audience and should be
And
on
people
point.
can pick up on that really quickly.
They can. People are not. Most magicians think they act like people are mentally incapable.
Yeah, they're really
Like
not.
they
People
go,
are very
oh,
smart.
do me a favor, and why is she doing you a favor? Just like again, Fernando Figueres does this very well. Why are you doing this? Why are you like with Fernando? I learned that every magician going on stage is providing a proposal. This is my proposal.
Like a marriage
And
proposal,
no,
or just
this is the proposal that I bring. I've done my homework.
Mhm.
I've tried to decipher all the work that I'm gonna do.
Mhm.
And now I'm on stage and this is my proposal. My proposal is that you take this clipboard. And my proposal is that you take this, right? It's very interesting to think about it this way. Like if I go on stage, sorry, if I go on stage and I bring a chair and I have the mic stand ready to do the zipper act, it's a proposal. What's your name? Okay, like something that I ask every single show, because I normally do shows for 300-400 people. I just see waves of heads. I see
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah.
I go, what's your name? And they go, Ricardo. And I go, Ricardo, nice. Do you have any health obstacles? And people start laughing, right? Because they have an expectation of what can this be, right? But it's
Yeah.
just me asking, do you have any health obstacles? And they go, no. And I go, perfect, stand up, right? And they stand up. And this creates two things. This creates an underlying judgment from the audience to the performer, which is, oh, this guy is fucking, this guy has done this a lot of times. Like he's
Yeah.
asking someone if he has health obstacles, because I've
he will
called
have
people up who didn't have leg. Like, come on up. And they just put the stump up, right? They go like this and I go, oh, did was it the previous magician who did it, right? Right? and and they laugh and it's fun, but I do not like to expose that.
Yeah.
I do not like to expose. So I go, do you have any health obstacles? And sometimes they look at me and I just guide the glow of the audience. I just guide and expose their personality. I go, do you have any health obstacles? And he goes, depend maybe. And I go, are you like, are you afraid? And he goes, yeah. And I go, don't be. Can you walk? Perfect. Just stand there, right? And this creates a very robust structure for you to, like, you're asking people if they're comfortable in going on stage without asking their permission.
Yeah.
I hate the, hello, do you mind helping me? It's like, no. Like, I've been taught by my mentors, that is, what's your name? Come on up.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's you can't really say no to a question like that. So if you're gonna ask them to come up, then don't say, would you mind helping me? Because then if they don't want to, what are they supposed to say? No, I don't want to help you. Like that makes them seem like a douchebag.
And it takes credibility off of you, and it takes power off of you. Imagine you're on stage, Caleb, and you go, do you mind coming on stage? And they go, no. Or yes, in this case. Yes. And you go, okay, how about you? And then you're fucking stuck.
Yeah, now you're way
You're
behind.
stuck.
Yep.
You're stuck.
Yep.
Right? So I go, do you have any health obstacles? And this creates an expectation that I will not meet, but I'm not worried about it.
Mm.
I always ask this because I've brought you can talk to Matt or Chris Wilder, the creator of the Curious Cabaret in Nottingham,
Oh, Chris
where I
Wallace is
go,
good.
do you have any like I talked to a couple in their 60s, right? Who apparently is a classical couple.
Oh, yes, yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. I remember you telling me this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they go, no, it's like she was roasting the shit out of me,
Yeah,
but
Mina,
like
she's a legend.
in a light banter. Yeah,
Mhm.
Mina, exactly. She was in a light banter, but it was still fucking up my set, right? So I go, if I bring her up, I can contain it.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
as a performer, you gain stage time and you gain the perspective of your outer self. You see yourself in the astral plan, and you go, what's the best choice here,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I go,
In this case,
do you have any health obstacles? And she goes, no, dear, no. Okay, come on, stand up and come on up, a big round of applause. And they come up on stage. You're laughing, and they go up on stage, and I shake the hands with the man, the husband, and then I kiss the woman, and she goes, "Hey, dear," and she picks up my face like a nana, and she goes, I just want to tell you that I'm deaf. I'm completely deaf, but I read lips extremely well. I'm like, ah.
no health obstacles though.
Because she doesn't, and this is fair because you have to see her
Yeah, yeah,
point.
yeah.
She
Yeah,
doesn't
exactly.
see it as a disability. But like
Exactly.
I was doing my cards across, the signed cards across, and she was like one people here, one person here, one person here, and she was always like this to read my lips, right? And those people in the end were getting annoyed as hell because
Yeah.
like the excuse was she was drunk and she was doing like this, right? And I thought, like in my astral plan, I get out of myself and I ask myself, I don't want to expose her condition, but I
Mm.
need to expose her condition for all those whatever 30 people,
Yeah. Because if you don't, they won't understand why she's.
and they will
Yeah.
be annoyed and annoyed and annoyed and annoyed,
Mm.
and then I don't know their personality. Someone says something,
Yeah.
and she says I'm deaf, and they feel bad, and then
Yeah, yeah.
I'm
It's gone too
I'm
far.
I'm at fault. I'm at
Yeah.
fault always.
Yeah, yeah. Mm. Well, I'll take this moment.
I always get out of subject. Sorry,
No,
I'm
no,
not very
no.
easy.
That's the purpose of this whole thing. Is just to talk about this stuff. But I do have another thing that I'd love to ask you about because another thing you're really great at is giving notes and giving really great feedback to magicians on their acts. And you've talked a little bit about how you think about giving notes where you need someone to actually show you their act and then you can add in bits as it goes. But I'm curious, what are some common mistakes that people make when trying to give feedback on other magicians' acts, and what would be your advice to them?
I'm not sure if I follow. So do you mean the
So,
advice
so,
learned?
a lot of magicians give feedback on other
Mhm.
people's acts, or maybe, for example, for me, I want to help out my mates and give them feedback. But how do you do that in a way that's actually constructive and helpful?
Again, using the metaphor of Pep Guardiola, you listen to their proposal and you plan and you give advice according to their proposal. Um,
So take them, let them steer the ship. Well, let them know where they want to go, and you help them get there, kind of thing.
yeah. So I think there is a joke that I remember from Matt's act. Matt
Hmm.
is getting too much heat on this interview. I don't like that. I
Yeah,
hate
we need to
it.
stop talking about it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
no, but Matt was doing his like shoe fetish act.
That's gonna sound so weird out of context for everyone else listening.
No, it's a public show, guys. It's a public show. Um, and this was his proposal, and he came forward and he goes, "Oh, this, and this," and he was doing the thing, and he was asking the person again, majoring the effect, making the effect bigger,
Hmm.
or quirks and bits that strengthen the story world of what you want to
Yeah.
get the message across.
They build their people's image of you.
Yeah, so he enters on stage with like, what is that? Like shoeboxes
Yeah,
for
shoeboxes on his feet.
shoeboxes for shoes.
Yeah,
And he calls someone on stage, and slowly but surely, he starts to get seduced by those
by their shoes.
by their shoes. And he goes, blah, 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 but he keeps looking down, but he keeps going. It's not too much, right?
Yeah, it's subtle.
And I said to Matt, don't do it too much because people are not mentally incapable. They will pick on social cues faster than you think, right? If I go like this and I keep doing this, yeah, but the idea of like by the third time, people go,
what is up with them?
Yeah, right? People are not, you don't need to put an arrow or like having someone with signals. And he did something where he goes, do you mind going over there and seeing the box or whatever? And it was just the person going to the box and seeing something that was later described as a bait and switch. Right? For those who are not aware, something that you build an expectation on and then you immediately, bam, to the knees, you break their expectation, which I do fucking a lot, right? I love it, right? And then I go, yeah, but that's not speaking to the essence of your perversion, of your fetish. You have to put something there. And so when, like, I'm sitting there, I remember this very cleanly in the Beaston, I guess. And I was sitting there, and I think he got Mike, another Nottingham magician, walking. And I go, stop. Do it slower. And this was funny in itself. And I go, wait, that's funny for you to say. You can say,
Yeah.
They go normally and you go, wait. Slower now. Right? To make it creepy, to make it, right? So the notes I would provide to another act would be aligned to the archetype or the stereotype that he wants to fit in, even if he's unaware of the archetype he's representing.
That's a great point.
Right? So, for example, David Copperfield is the grand magician. Mac King is the silly guy who does miracles. He's a very sociable guy. He's very dorky in some sense, right? David Blaine is the hardcore fucking magic, right?
Yeah. Stick a needle through my arm.
Yeah. His spectators are mere spectators, and that has strong magic as well, right? So yeah, I would the advice I would give is, yes, some people go, oh, Caleb, when you do this, you could do this. But it's just me, Francisco, saying to you what I would do.
Yeah.
That's different.
That's a really good point. Yeah, you got to come at it from their perspective rather than treating it like you're up there.
And you can tell this by the amount of jokes that Leandro and I write. And then we go on stage, and then they either don't work or they work poorly. And Leandro goes, yeah, that was just a matter of intent. Yours was shit. Or he says, or I say, yeah, man, I don't like that joke. Like, I don't feel like the joke is like, there's a joke that is so funny. That we were on stage, and he just boom let go of that nugget, and I go, oh, that's funny. We're just laughing, crying, and then we moved on stage. I say the joke, and it's flop immediately.
Wow.
And we're like, were we drunk? Because we may be drunk. And one thing that he says to me, while we're on the phone, or like he's going away or whatever, like in the end of the night, he goes, you know what? Revise the notes tomorrow. What he said something that was brilliant, which was, see if this is funny tomorrow. It's getting late.
Sleep on it.
Yeah. This was one of the best informations that I got. Like, if you don't know what you're doing, do nothing. Like, if you don't know what to do, just leave it as is. Like, sometimes I have like a blank space to fill in an act, and I just leave it blank. I do all the other stuff, and then I get to that place, and I either run by it, because I either run by it or I say something that makes sense in the moment, unrepeatable in that venue.
Yeah, yeah,
Because if I'm gonna stretch it too far, I'm gonna tear everything that I was doing before,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Mm. Oh, that's great advice. Well, I will take this opportunity. We're basically at the 2 hour mark. How are you feeling?
Oh Lord.
I know,
I'm
right?
good. I'm good.
Do you have anywhere you need to be? Let me know if there is any. If
No,
give me a 10-minute
I
warning or.
no, I have some pizza to put in the oven. That's the only thing. Yeah, that's the only thing. If you want to do a bit more, that would be fine.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, I'll have a look at what
Is
other
this
questions I've got.
being helpful
This is
somehow?
perfect. You are the easiest person I've ever had to
Oh, okay,
interview.
that's good.
No, genuinely. No, just because I mean, we're just talking, like there's no.
Yeah, it's a conversation. I don't want this to be an interview.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I've written down so many questions and
Go ahead.
we're
I'll
not
try
going to be
to.
able to get through all of them.
No, it's fine. I'll try to do like a 3-minute mark on each,
Okay.
or less. Go ahead.
So we'll do like a speed round.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you're a fantastic MC. How do you do that?
That was direct.
Yeah.
A lot of mistakes, a lot of unavoidable mistakes, and don't take yourself too seriously when you're doing it. Like, being an MC is different than being a magician on stage, because being an MC requires you to be a professional curious about everything. You have to be a visual representation and an emotion of what several audience members react to. I don't believe
Yeah.
you can be an MC and a true artist dedicated to his craft of doing things that he only does for himself. It's
Yeah.
impossible. You have to
You're
be.
the audience's like mouth.
I'm the
Or eyes.
bridge. I'm the bridge. And
Yeah.
I thought for a long time that I wasn't part of an act, but I was. I was the pillar that glued everything, that maintained the entire structure together, because I'm the one that makes or breaks the rhythm. Like, if
Yeah.
I enter too late, like like sometimes I work with acts who are, how do I say this? Who are not polished,
Mhm.
right? And that has its merit. They're doing it. And like, I go on stage and there's few applauses, maybe. And my job as a host is just to pick that up again.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
sometimes
Make it easy for people to follow you, right?
yeah, again, and this enters a bit into the logistics of what I carry as an MC.
Mhm.
Like, I have the zipper act ready here, I have the coaster act here, I have the rope act here, right? I have all these little bits and stuff, because sometimes when I'm doing MC, most of the times, sometimes it's a poem that they need, sometimes it's a crowd work moment, sometimes it's a puzzle, sometimes it's just audience engagement. So you become a good MC by listening to the audience and maintaining a sense of showmanship.
That's a great answer. What interests do you have outside of magic, and how have they inspired your magic?
Oh man, Jesus.
You don't have to answer the second part of the question if you want. I'm just curious, what do you enjoy doing outside of magic? You said Premier League was one?
I say Premier League. I play football to maintain
Peak physique.
to not peak, far from peak. That's but to just to maintain my physical health, which I haven't done in the last months of December. But yeah, mainly I play football. I'm a great fan of Magic the Gathering. I
Really?
play,
Wow, I
yeah,
did not know that. Wow,
I
you're a card game nerd as well.
I am a nerd. Yeah,
Whoa. Well,
I
all
do.
magicians are nerds, right?
I do magic and magic. That is the nerdiest, most virgin thing I've heard in my life. But no, but yeah, I play Magic the Gathering. I really enjoy movies a lot.
What kind of movies?
I'm more of a thriller, real
Oh, I
stuff
love
kind of guy.
thrillers. Yeah, yeah,
Like,
yeah.
like,
Yeah, me
like
too.
I'm a sort of, how do I put this? I'm a sort of, I like real humanistic stuff, nothing like sci-fi or
Mm.
doesn't catch my interest.
Do you like kind of thriller slash action or more like thriller slash
Yeah, like a
epic plot twist?
suspenseful kind of thing.
Mm.
More to the mind, yeah. Yeah,
There's
yeah,
this
yeah.
series that just came out called The Day of the Jackal. Have you seen that?
Again?
The Day of the Jackal. It's based off the old film, the old action film.
Oh no.
It is really good. I started watching it and I am like gripped
Do you mean the
every
Bruce
night.
the Bruce Willis one? No.
No, so this has just come out at the end of last year, and it's I mean I'm only on episode just finished episode two, but I'm hooked. It's like a thriller action about like this elite kind of assassin or contract killer or whatever,
Okay.
and kind of there's a on the other side of the coin is this MI6 agent with like a struggling family.
Okay.
And it's like I think based off what you just said, I think you would really like it, but you should check it out.
Oh
The Day of the
yes, I
Jackal.
will. I
It's a
will
TV
check it
show.
out. I will
It's a
check
TV
it
show,
out.
but it feels like a movie.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Have you? Yeah, TV shows are. I have a top three, if you care.
Okay, let's go.
I would go Breaking Bad,
Oh,
Ozark, and Better Call Saul, without a
wow.
doubt. That
Interesting.
is.
Okay, so that's the kind of stuff you love.
Yeah, so it's
Ah.
very Chekhovian in some sense. So
Hmm.
Anton Chekhov was a Russian playwright,
Hmm.
which I did some theater plays when I was in college, and Shakespeare.
Mm.
Where I fucking hate Shakespeare. It's
Yes, I mean, brother.
Jesus Christ. And Chekhov has a very unique way of displaying things. So um, he has what is called the flux of consciousness. I don't know how to say it in English, where they're eating at the table and someone says, "I think it's going to rain today," and the other goes, "No, I don't think I will." And below that, like if someone who doesn't know theater and sees Chekhov, he will fall asleep in the first 3 minutes immediately, right? But if you know the story context of Chekhov and how the symbolism and the underlying motifs work,
Hmm.
it's brilliant. It's brilliant. So yeah,
Okay, so I would fall asleep in the first 3 minutes.
okay, that's fine.
I'm sorry to
Sleep.
say that. Yeah. Okay, so have any of those things inspired how you look at magic? Have you taken any of that on board?
Yeah, so without a doubt, how Chekhov mainly and Stanislavski, another
Hmm.
playwright, they shaped how I perceive my. So mainly Stanislavski, how I perceive my crowd work moment. So what's the reading that people make of what I'm doing? Like, how do I how do I so how do I manipulate not manipulate, how am I fully understanding of what they are experiencing?
Mm.
Like, what actions would I do to make them trigger that thought, right? Of course,
Right.
this is
Yeah.
not, you
Yeah.
cannot
Yeah.
control an audience. Again, don't be arrogant in predicting what you can't.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it gave me a wider perspective. Oh, yes, there are people seeing me and they have minds of their own. And like,
Yeah.
I'm going to give you an example. Every December, I take my School of Magic to the shopping mall. I build like a little thing to sell magic products. And there was an old lady, very unaware of her surroundings. I would argue in her 60s, late 60s, early 70s. And there we were selling like cool gadgets, like the chameleon silk, where you do like this and they both change color, right?
Yep.
Then you do this again, right? And I have 2 or 3 silks on the table because I have several like employees working with them.
Mhm.
And the guy who's looking at it with the daughter goes, "Mom, come here, you're gonna love this." And he starts talking to his daughter, right? And I go, "Hello, you want to see something cool?" And then I take the silk, which is red and blue, and I go like this, whoosh, and I turn it green and yellow.
Mhm.
And the lady looks at that and goes, I think I would buy it, but I prefer it in the other colors. And I'm like, and I'm like, what? And I'm like, uh, right? And she thought
should
it
totally
was like
use that.
a sort of cashmere, sort of, what do you call it?
Yeah, Cashmere.
Like a wraparound thing.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, no, that's not it. We're selling. And it goes, oh, okay. Oh, wow. And she doesn't connect one thing to the other. It could be health. I'm sure it wasn't. But this tells me a lot about how an audience member reads a magic trick.
Yeah.
And that's why most magicians fail in engaging. Because they are deeply aware of like the amount of shows that I do. Like this happens mostly in family shows for like city halls or whatever. They go, oh, we want to have a magic show for the family. I'm like, okay, fuck it, let's go. And I do a family show, and I take all my bestsellers, all my entertainment pieces, and I just stack them up in frames. Boom, 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 boom. There's no connection whatsoever, unless it's crowd work connection. So I leave one and I take the other, and mainly people ask, like, I go on stage, I have my 3-piece suit. I'm in the dressing room, I have my 3-piece suit, and they go, oh, you have your stagehand. And I go, hello. And he goes, hey, what do you want me to carry on stage? And I go, what? No, nothing. And she goes, oh, you have nothing? But you're going to do a show now. And I go, yeah, I know. I'm ready. I'm just ready to go and do this.
Oh,
So
that is like a super badass thing. It's like
it is
just like it's easy to like get caught up in that idea of like, all I need is a deck of cards and I am the showman. But it's super cool, right? You're just self-contained.
It takes a lot of time to get to this, but it's also like I have a rising respect for the Big Illusion people.
Interesting.
Jesus Christ. I would.
Yeah. Like I see Cyril
would
Takayama has like 18 suitcases for every show he does. It's crazy.
And again, it's his style, it's might work, it's his stuff. Again, like choosing the right repertoire and framing the logistics of transportation of said repertoire are different issues.
Yeah.
Like I could enjoy incredible magic. Like, for example, do you know Solange Cardinali? The clothes, like quick change, red hair.
No, I don't.
Okay, so Sol is a great friend of mine, and she performs everywhere. She was in America's Got Talent. She went to the finals. All the right kind of exposure for what she wants.
Mhm.
But she carries like the biggest suitcases, and she does the suits by hand.
Wow.
And we've talked about it. I was like, if I had to do that, I would not do that. But again, we are very, as magicians, we know that thorough preparation and more preparation most of the times leads to stronger fooling magic. I prepared this and they don't know. I prepared this and they don't know, right?
Yeah.
I choose to not do that. And that's just style. And that's like, if I had to, if I, like, I have weekly shows, man. If I had to carry, I have friends who have weekly shows. A great friend of mine called Zé Magic, which he has a company that's called Magic Tailors. He does suits for magicians.
Oh, really? Wow.
And he does an effect where is a ring inside a walnut, which is inside an egg, which is inside an orange.
Oh,
Like, the preparation for that I would die of boredom immediately, right?
yeah.
But that creates a stronger effect of magic, and
Yeah.
there's a ruin in everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
if you want to do Caleb, just card magic, that works.
Well,
But
I'm as I've done more stage, I'm shifting. I'm not shifting away from card magic. It's still what I love doing the most, especially close up. But stage, it's very easy to involve other props because it's not about the trick necessarily. It's about you. It's about I'm a big fan of like super random objects and magic, like just bringing a toaster on stage and then like using it to like pop the deck out of the toaster, and then you don't need the toaster anymore. But it's just like I love the idea of doing something just super stupid like that. Bring an entire toaster on stage for a dumb gag, and then you just
you have a very interesting Rob Zabreki's example. Where he just, do you know that?
Yeah. Oh, I love this story every time.
It just goes on stage with like a question mark, like a box with a question mark, and he very mysteriously gives it to someone, and he doesn't talk. He goes like this, and then in the end, like he does his act, and then in the end he goes for the box, and people go, "Oh, the box! Yeah, the box has something," and then he just takes the box and goes right out the side curtains.
It's like, such a good like character building bit because it's people are wondering, who is this guy? What does he do outside of the show? And it feels like this is just like he's like on his way to work and he stops and does a show and then he continues.
Yeah, again, an actor performing magic.
Yeah.
It sets up a different bar. And Zabrek for me is like it's a true entertainer of the crowd, right? It's
I've never seen a single piece of magic from him. I've only heard stories or on podcasts or whatever.
Yeah.
But I really would love to watch him because it just seems so interesting.
I think he's USA based.
Yeah. Very strange magic.
Yeah, but that's the Caleb, that's the point where you create something. You go, I want something random because this is like
Yeah. That's why I love like Tommy Wonder's material, because a lot of the like gimmick stuff that he does, like I'm going to talk about this in its own video actually at some point, but I'm not a big fan of gimmicks, but there is a certain kind of gimmick that I really love. Like the Ruby Cup is a good example.
From Ruby,
Yeah, because it's less of a gimmick and it's more of a tool, right? That's one example. But then there's also like, Tommy Wonder's lighter to matchbox trick that he does. Yep. Yeah, that's another gimmick. I love that kind of stuff because it's so random and interesting, and I don't know. It's a certain kind of thing.
Yeah. You gotta delve into John Cornelius's work. All or most of his gimmicks were homemade.
I love it.
Like he won a FISM with every card trick in 10 minutes.
Wow. And hang on, let me write this down. John Cornelius.
John Cornelius is one of the most creative minds I've ever read about. He was an old schooler kind of guy, and you can tell. You can tell.
Awesome. Okay, I'm going to check out his work afterwards. That's super cool. Okay, well let's shift to a more gritty subject. Let's talk about that old subject of gatekeeping. Obviously, it's a big problem in the magic world.
What do you mean?
Gatekeeping, like
gatekeeping?
Like this is my secret. I'm not going to share it with anyone. This is for my elite group.
Okay, gatekeeping.
I don't know. I'm always curious to just hear how you approach, or how do you think about sharing your work with others? Is it something that it's like for a select group? Is it you obviously have published books?
Well, those are hard-hitting questions. So first of all, I tend to see the intent of people who want to know my work. Because I've known 3 or 4 magicians here in Portugal who see no problem in using my work and doing a slight different thing and go, oh, this is my act. Right?
Yeah. There's a difference between being inspired by something and stealing something.
Yeah, exactly. For example, the zipper act thing, I saw it and I was like, yeah, it's the same effect, but sort of, but yeah, the card comes from the zipper, but it's more than adequate for cabaret. And I was like, yeah, okay. And I struggled with that for a long time, but then I came to the realization that, yeah, okay, I liked the effect. And then later, older, I go, yeah, I don't care about his performance at all, at all. But it was a great source of inspiration, and I cannot deny that. So I always see the
But
intent.
people looking at those acts would see like an obvious difference between the two.
Like I've seen immediately, they would see it's the same effect, but the dynamics, the rhythm, the engagement, the story is different. Like I start the zipper act by saying, ladies and gentlemen, this act is very old. It's described, it's so old indeed. It's a magic act that's so old that it's described in the annals of history. And this is not a joke. This is just like who laughs, laughs, and who doesn't, doesn't. And I go, and I give it a big pause. Is described in the annals of history. And as we all know, or should, when we search deep into the annals of history, history smiles back. And this goes to, you look very interested in this stunt, and then I move on to the crowd work part. So depending on, like, if I'm going to perform in a festival in April, and then I'm going to perform in another one later, and one in the end of January as well. I never do stuff that I do for a lay audience.
To protect it.
Because not like if you're going to my lecture, like I've seen magicians either on the street when I'm doing the street shows or in like theater proper venues, and they're like this. And it's more than once, Caleb, that I had to say, "Do you mind not recording because I don't authorize it." And I say this as an afterthought, and I go, "Thank you so much," and I laugh to him. I go, "Thank you so much." Like this is a person who wants to show this to their friends and not.
Yeah, you assume the best intent.
Yeah. I assume the best, but I know their faces.
Yeah.
Right. So it's very boring. In the lecture, I share mostly everything. Yeah, I have no problem in sharing because they're watching my lecture. As long as they don't film it, they can write as fast as I talk.
Yeah.
But as long as they don't film it, right?
Yeah.
The mind is very brittle in that sense, very fragile.
Yes, exactly.
But I share everything. Like if I'm working on something, I share it with my mentors only. If the work is done, I can share it in there are acts that I don't share. For example, the
elusive Jaguar act, right?
What?
You've never told me about that one. That one must
The
be
what?
super. The Jaguar act, you know?
No.
With the Jaguar? The one that you never tell anyone about?
Fucking idiot. You're for those seeing, I was baited. I'm hungry, so I was baited.
If you need to stop and make some pizza, that's
No,
fine.
no. No, the essence of it is it's the intent to which people want to see the act. Because, like, if you're gonna see my lecture to use my stuff, you're an asshole. But if you're gonna see my lecture to learn and talk about composition and movement and how you move from close-up to stage, and I talk about guiding spectators. I talk about what spectators see versus what we see. If you want to learn all about it, I don't hide and I don't gatekeep anything, but it has to do with intent, with intention.
Yeah.
If
What do
you're
you think about?
diabolical, fuck you. If you're diabolical, right? Because you're stealing something that I've been
Yeah, that you've been working
passionately,
on for. Yeah.
like I've been passionately. Sometimes I take shows with lower fees because I'm so excited to try new stuff.
Mm.
Right? And that tells you a lot about my passion. So for you to come here just because you can't just be a story gatherer, I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's easy, especially as a beginner magician, to uh, think, well, I can never come up with something like that. So let me take that and then I can kind of change it. But
Hmm.
I have to perform it first. And that's what I used to think. I used to I used to think that you had to, and I do think everyone has this kind of phase where you have to copy before you can be original. You have
I
but
agree.
there is a
I
limit to
agree.
that. If someone has published, like if Danny Doherty's has published a new version of They Can, no one's going to be complaining if you do it exactly like him, right? Especially if you're a beginner. That's like the end result. That shouldn't be the goal. It should be with a goal to move and make it something original or something new or whatever. But there's a line between that kind of published thing to something that's like a core part of someone's working set, uh, and taking that and then doing it verbatim. And now that's just like, do you think there's a line there between certain things that are published, but you shouldn't do, like you shouldn't copy, and certain things that are fine to copy? And I know it varies performer to performer. Like I know Danny has said he's put a blanket statement out there saying like anyone who does can do any of his work and it doesn't matter. Like basically the most like very Spanish and loose kind of way of doing it, which is really nice. But not everyone is like that.
Well, most of Danny's material, I I suspect he doesn't care for.
What do you mean by that?
Max even said one thing, which was, um, I only publish work that I don't use.
Yeah.
And I think there's a airtight logic to it. And my mentor as well, Leandro, no videos whatsoever, no exposure of anything of any kind.
Mhm.
Like I expose bits up to 20 seconds.
Yep.
Like I've seen people just going, "Oh, that's a nice joke." I go, "Fuck." Like
Mm.
it's shit. I've finished shows and people are like, "Oh, can I use that joke of yours?" I go, "Why would you want to do that? Like, what do you want your audience to feel?" Right?
Mm.
It's just that. So it's I don't know. Like
Yeah, yeah.
I publish the work that I do, but that doesn't mean that you have to copy it.
Mm.
That says nothing about giving permission.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Like that says absolutely nothing about you being able to do this just because I released it. And Elder has stuff in his books that says none of this work can be done in television or whatever or film. So that's his approach. I wouldn't write that on a book,
Well,
but
I'm pretty
it's
sure it doesn't help to have like an almost like an NDA in his new project that he's put out.
uh, perhaps, yeah. I have no idea. I will not be I'll not be around to do it, unfortunately. But
Mm.
it's the thing, like it's common sense, which is not so common. Like this is the work of other
Yeah.
people. Like in the
Well,
beginning,
it's I was just going to say it's hard to realize that like from my own perspective, I've been caught up and like been like you know caught up in some really nasty comments from some people because I didn't understand that just because it's published doesn't mean you can do it. Because in my head that didn't make sense. And there's still a part of me that hasn't quite clicked that. Um,
I
and I
mean,
get it, but
yeah, I understand what you're saying. Um, like Harrison Greenbaum is a
mhm.
comedy magician from the US. he has a whole section that says other people's acts are not your training wheels.
I need to read that.
I like that, but I also understand that it's not black and white, man.
Yeah, super grey.
Like, I was very Leonard Green, Danny Ortiz, Woody Aragon
Mhm.
before. You see nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing, absolutely nothing. Not in the chaos, not in I like clean cut performances in terms of technique
Yeah.
that are invisible even to magicians.
Mm.
Like to make magicians, like I like my palms. Like they go, oh, the card is there. Like it's too late. It's not too late, but he didn't caught it when he was preparing.
Yeah. Me
Like I
too.
like
I
my
love that stuff.
techniques where magicians go back and they go, oh, it could only be there, but I didn't see it. I like this composition.
Yeah. 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 Well, it's a very helpful thing for me to think about more and to hear your perspective on because it's very relevant to some stuff that I've been talking to people about recently with trying to understand that, the rules around using people's material and not using people's material. So
I
that's
think
super beneficial.
my stance is you can by selecting repertoire of others in the beginning,
In the beginning.
um, it's you funneling down.
Yeah.
This is what I like.
You're at the wide part of the funnel.
Yeah.
How do you think that relates to moves? If a move is published, like performing a move compared to
Doesn't matter.
obviously, right?
Doesn't matter.
That's okay. I'm glad that's cleared up because
You
that's
can
what
do it.
I've been thinking as well.
It's cleared up for me because, like,
I mean, everyone
I have
has
a
different
friend.
perspective.
I have a friend in Poland that when I was doing the zipper act in Madame Lisbonne, he started doing it as well
Mhm.
because it was his style. He said, and I don't know if he does it still, but he used to use my method, the entire thing. I was like, okay, that's not very fun. Or like, okay, he's a friend, he's trying to, and you have more capacity for patience there.
Yeah.
And then he developed his own thing, and now he walks naked on stage most of the times, almost naked.
How does he do a zipper act if he's naked?
He doesn't. No. But this was the funnel.
Yeah.
Like, I think we need to be. I think the magicians who sort of made it. I did quotes under this. The magicians who sort of made it are the ones who go, no, don't do this. No, don't do this. No. That's gatekeeping for me.
They have the power.
But if you're like, I've met some really terrible assholes in my day. Again, in Portugal and everywhere. And they just want to, I want to do that, I want to do that, and I want to do that.
Yeah.
It's too much, man. It's too much. So I gatekeep those motherfuckers all the time.
Fair enough. Can't complain about that. Okay, well, we're getting towards the end of the questions that I've got. But before we get on to the closing questions, this is something that I often think about and I really struggle with. When you're performing, especially close up, what do you do while the spectator is reacting? Because for me, it is often such an awkward moment.
I tend to react on their reaction, especially if I see something that I've never seen before.
So you react at their reaction.
Yeah, either that or like in the last show I did, I was doing a rope thing, and I did something, and people were like, "Whoa!" and they started clapping, and a kid in the front row went like this. And that was funny to me, right? Look at him.
That's great.
He's like this. What? What? And this was enough to stop the routine and engage with this little guy. Right? So I don't know. I think that's in the moment, right? Like if it's the moment.
Yeah. That's something I will no doubt get better at. Okay, well, let's get on to the closing questions because there are some interesting ones here.
Let's go.
So these are pretty rapid fire. If you could go out for a dinner with any magician who has ever lived, who would it be?
Uh, damn it. I need to see my books. I would say Steve Martin.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've seen my mentor offered me his book and I haven't read it, but I've seen him perform in a couple of videos. I've watched Only Murders in the Building,
Mhm.
and he is a guy that I would learn a lot.
Oh, yeah. Great answer. Okay. What is your biggest pet peeve in magic? This is your chance to rant.
What do you mean
Consequence
pet
free.
peeve?
So, like, the biggest little thing that always irks you,
That what?
that always, like, gets on your nerves.
During performance or in magic? Sorry.
No, no, like, in the magic community from magicians. Like, what little thing that magicians do gets on your nerves? You don't have to have something. This is quite a negative question, but
I'm a very positive guy in terms of like if something is being an asshole or whatever, I go, "Oh wow, that's great, great question, good for you, fuck off," and I just turn around, right? I don't get in those
yeah, yeah,
energies.
that's healthy. That's very healthy.
But
We can move on if you want.
no, no, no. But I would argue um the ego thing of putting
Oh
others
yeah.
down. Like others can
Oh
be
yeah.
very good and you can be very good. Like him being very good
Yes.
says more about you than it says about him.
Mm,
Like him being very good and you being mad at it, it
yeah.
talks.
Or just the superiority complex that some people have is.
Yeah, that takes me through the roof. But I've
Mm,
managed to hold on to it. Like most magicians are under the illusion and the assumption that if you fool a magician, you're better than him, or if you fool a magician,
mm.
you deserve to be. Fuck, well, no,
Yeah, yeah,
no,
yeah. Yeah,
no.
I agree with you.
You're just a better
Eh,
fooler. You're not a better person.
Yeah, you've read that book
Yeah.
that they haven't read. Yeah.
Yeah, I've said this tremendously over the years. I prefer good people who are working on being better performers than being extremely good performers who are cunts.
Fair enough. Can't argue with that. If you could only read three magic books for the rest of your life, what would they be? And with this kind of question, we're assuming you've already read what you've already read. What three books are you moving forward? Are you choosing? Let me guess. Shrouded Soul, Finest Covered.
Homage, finest. I would say Ken Weber's
Maximum
oh,
Entertainment.
Maximum Entertainment
Yeah, that's the game.
2.0.
2.0.
Um,
That's a great book.
Card Control by Arthur Buckley.
Mm. Oh, another banger. You were practicing the 52 card back palm. Have you read that in there?
I do 1% of what Buckley does there, but I think that
One fifty second of it.
that book is a postgraduate in card magic.
Oh,
Really
it's
is.
crazy. And some great gambling stuff in there, actually.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And I would say, it's a very cool question. Either like I don't know. I'm torn between the okay. So it has to be magic book. Yeah, okay. So
Yeah.
either the award-winning magic rope magic of Tabari,
Mm.
or the entire set of Card College, which is one.
Well, what if
Which
I
is
said all of Card College, all of Tarbell, And well,
Fuck, you're
I'll
right.
count it.
No,
I'll
you're
count it.
right.
I'll
You're
count
right.
it.
I can't be out on a technicality. Um, yeah, I would say the stand-up magic of Roberto Giobbi.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
not
Interesting.
not because of the effects itself, which are very strong, but because of the introduction it provides onto performing magic on stage.
Great answers. So, what was your first one again?
Maximum entertainment,
Maximum Entertainment, Card Control, and Stand-Up
stand-up.
Card Magic. Stand-Up Magic.
Yeah,
Roberto
stand-up comedy
Giordi.
magic.
Awesome. Okay. Let's imagine. Let's go to a Francisco dream, and let's imagine that in this dream, you are emceeing your dream cabaret show. Which five magicians from history would be allowed to perform, and what order would you put them in?
Fuck, I would be allowed to perform with them, not the other way around. I would be the small fish. Matt
Who would
Ricardo.
you? Okay. Oh, where would you put them?
Fucking, I don't know. I'm laughing of nervousness.
Wait till you
Matt
said all three, all five, and then you can
has
order
to be
them.
magic, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Matt Ricardo. Oh, but I have to have because I was gonna say five people who are sort of the style that I love.
Well,
So
why not?
it's a shitty gala show. It needs to
Ah.
be okay. So five favorites. Let's go with the five favorites in a gala show. I would go Matt Ricardo, Derek Hughes, Leandro Morgado,
Mm-hmm.
Harry Anderson, and for a change of pace, Luis Olmedo.
Wow. Interesting. I expected you to have more people more like magic greats in there.
No, because I don't think most of them are true performers. I think they're wonderful magicians.
Right. Interesting.
But
Cool.
I cannot say things like that publicly. I would say them to you after
Well, this
this.
is public.
Yeah,
I can cut this out.
No, I would. There are most magicians that I love who are not performers.
Yeah. No, I get it. So, okay, you've got those five. Who's opening? Who's closing?
Fuck. I would put Harry Anderson closing with the act he does with his wife,
Okay.
like an escape act.
Oh, yeah, you can't have that in the middle.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I would put uh, I would put Nick Difat to open. It's a good
Oh, so
movie.
you're adding Nick DeFutton. Okay.
Nick Difat is first, Harry
Interesting.
Anderson
Okay.
last. I would go.
Where are you putting Matt Ricardo?
Matt Ricardo's going second. No, Matt Ricardo's going third.
Interesting. Okay. Middle act. Yep.
Leandro is going fourth.
Mhm.
Yeah, and then Derek Hughes is going second. Yeah.
And
So
then
Nick,
your space
Nick,
in between each of them.
yeah. I do nothing because they do the show entirely. I just go, ladies and gentlemen, in the next act. Ladies and gentlemen, in the next act. This is all I do. The show
Yeah,
is
but you
done.
make it unique and fresh in
Yeah,
the moment.
I say, oh,
Ladies
nice.
and gentlemen, this is
Yeah,
the next set.
nice sweater, sir. I can see your nipples, but that's a choice. Okay, that's a choice. Yeah.
Wow, that sounds like a great show. Okay, well, it's been 2 hours and 40 minutes. I have
Fuck.
to say,
I need
this
to
interview.
eat.
Yeah, I'm sorry. That's why I'm wrapping this up. This has been such a pleasure. This is your chance to plug what you've going on. I know you've got a couple of books. Plug away to my the two people who are still watching this, which is Matt and Dominic.
No, I'm gonna perform in a couple of conventions. If you want to book me, just check out my work on Instagram or ask people, I guess.
I'll leave links down below for Instagram and
Lovely, thank you so
and
much.
websites.
And yeah, I do MC, I do acts, I do performance instead of host. I do lectures, and I'm currently writing a new project for 2026.
Gonna be banging. And you'll be at Blackpool Are you going to
I will
be demoing
be
and selling stuff there?
I will be at Blackpool selling my shit.
Great. Well,
So
come by it.
if you
You might
like
see me there.
gimmicks, if you like gimmicks, just turn around or close your eyes. Or
Yeah, yeah,
I'm in the main
yeah.
hall.
Well, Francisco, it has been an absolute pleasure. So thank you so much for coming on. And everyone else, go check out his work at the links below. You won't regret it.
Thank you so much. It has been my pleasure to be invited.